Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome to Let's Start Story on What If Deku Became the Iron Hero of UA. So do 4 blue hearts comment, be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video and please share with your friends and watch till end. Also check out Patreon for I have upload Izuka X Momo uncensored spicy version, link in description.
Tony Stark dies. He dies alone, on some godforsaken planet, at least half a solar system away. He dies after slowly starving to death, a few feet from where the kid had turned to dust. After thinking way too much, and spending who knows how long trying to repair a ship that has soft and hardware he has never seen before, together with an honest-to-God cyborg. How is this his life? How is this his death? No one is more surprised than him when he wakes up again. It isn't supposed to be like this. Why can't he just die already? He screams, loudly, only to shut up in shock immediately. Because what the hell? That's not this voice. This loud shriek belongs to a toddler or any sort of small human. He has no idea how they age, so he can't say with certitude. A loud bang and a lean woman with dark green hair appears next to him and immediately scoops him up in a hug. Tony freezes. It takes a minute for his brain to come back online. Izuku, baby, are you alright? Izuku? Baby, talk to me? The woman whispers urgently into his hair as she swallows him in a hug. A hand gently inspects his limbs, checking for wounds. He blinks. He easily fits in her arms. This is his mother. He knows that, but she is not Maria Stark. She is not the mother he saw not even a year ago strangled on tape, but she is his mother nonetheless. Tears gather in his eyes. Baby, did you have a nightmare? She asks soothingly now that she is done with her inspection and has found nothing to worry about. All he can do is nod, because how could he ever start explaining this to her? Everything will be alright, baby. Dreams go away, she tries to soothe him. He wants to scream because this isn't all right. He won't let himself though, so all he can do is bury his face in his mother's shoulder and cry. He's kept himself strong for so long. So many years without letting even the people closest to him see him vulnerable, and finally it becomes too much. In the end, it is not death, not Afghanistan, not Siberia, not even the kid turning to dust, but a simple hug that causes him to break. Just a warm hug and the thought that even dying is something Tony Stark manages to screw up. His mom picks him up and she makes it look so easy, even for a delicate-looking woman like her. How small is he? She takes him into another room and lays him down next to her on the big bed. They snuggle close and he is completely drained, not sure how to feel anymore. Joyful and at peace, yet sad and exhausted at the same time. He can't help but bask in the feeling of comfort and home. He's always been a mama's boy. With Howard, he's just never been allowed to act like one. Now though, there is no father around to say anything about it, and his mom certainly doesn't seem to mind. He spends whatever is left of the night in her arms. He's comfortable and warm. He relaxes, and by the time dawn arrives, he forces himself to think about what the hell is going on. It takes a while to clear his thoughts. He isn't Tony Stark anymore. Not really. Tony Stark died. Somehow, somewhere in maybe another universe, because while he recalls only vaguely this new life, he doesn't recall huge alien attacks in the news or in history class. He is young still, so he will need to check to see if that is right, or just something his new self hadn't yet been aware of. His name is Midoriya Izuku now. He knows that. He remembers being Izuku, for as much as a 6-year-old can remember his life. Thing is, he remembers being Tony Stark as well. Tony's life is much clearer than Izuku's. He can remember most of what happened to Tony, all the way back to his childhood. The earliest memories are a bit foggy, but he can recall them. He has a few memories as Izuku, but most are recent. He recalls his fascination with heroes, his obsession with All Might, his failing friendship, which he knows now as an adult is not a friendship at all, his quirkless status, and his dream of being a hero despite all that. He remembers the bullying and the explosions and he grimaces. Another blonde making his life difficult. He's also not too sure he feels comfortable with his All Might obsession. Honestly, The man had too many similarities with Captain America. No happy memories there. Tony is Izuku and Izuku is Tony. Getting that straight takes a while, but neither of him are stupid. Even if Izuku is only about 6 years old, he is quite smart. Dissecting quirks like he has been doing for a while now is not a sign of stupidity. Still, his brain feels unusually overloaded and his thoughts feel slow, but he doesn't stop thinking. He never does. He never has. And probably never will. So, he takes the time to think. His mom is cuddling him close in her bed. She moved him here because his own bed had been too small to fit them both comfortably, as he is a very small boy. He can't quite recall her name. Can any 6-year-old? At what age do children learn their parents' names? When do they realize mom isn't called mom? But that doesn't feel important. She is here. With him. She came when he was in distress. Did he scream? He can't recall anymore. Is that why she came? It feels nice. He can't recall ever snuggling like this when he had only been Tony. Howard never would have allowed it, and he hadn't been around to try it with either. And Maria? Tony had loved her, and still loves her, but he has learned to be honest with himself. Jarvis is the one who raised him. Jarvis is the one who taught him. He has more memories of their butler than his own parents. So, this new mom is definitely a bonus. He has a dad as well, right? He can't remember the man ever being mean or neglectful, but he is not around either. Isn't he somewhere overseas for work? What exactly does his dad do for work? He doesn't want to think too much about the life he left behind. He has done enough of that, starving to death on that strange and desolate planet. He won't wonder again if either Pepper or Rhodey died. If any of his old teammates did. He only briefly allows himself to think of them because, as usual, Steve's face assaults his thoughts immediately. He is my friend. So was I. Definitely not the time for that. He looks around, over his mother's arms, and around the dark room. His mom's room looks pretty normal, much like how Pepper had decorated their shared room. With a flash, he recalls what his current bedroom looks like. Hero posters, notebooks, and figurines. He's a real fanboy. He's not ashamed of that. And maybe that is strange, but he's always been enthusiastic. Mostly about science and inventing stuff, and himself, if he is being honest. But that is mostly because he can't help but be cynical. Always seeing the flaws in people. He was Tony Stark. Is Tony Stark, despite everything. But Tony Stark could not go all fanboy on someone else, right? What a sight that would have been. But Izuku is just a normal kid. He doesn't have an image to protect, a company to not disappoint. Izuku is actually looked down upon because he isn't special, and isn't that strange? It is also weirdly comforting. No one has expectations of him. He is free to do as he pleases. He can be anything. His mom sings him a muffled lullaby and strokes his back. He is asleep within seconds. Another nice surprise. His mom is still holding him when he wakes up. He is laying against her chest and she is quietly reading a book. Where did she get that one from? Right, her quirk. He's in a different world altogether. It hadn't been all that clear yesterday, but now it all makes sense. He's sure he'd have heard of All Might before if the guy had been that big a hero in America, and All Might is one of the most famous heroes around. Izuku has always been a big fan, and his room definitely reflects that. Also, all the other heroes popping out of the woodwork in the last few years are a clear clue. So, either another world or that world advanced way too quickly in not enough years. Because there was nothing to be found on the Avengers, aliens, or even half the population on Earth suddenly turning to dust. Again, he would need to check that to be sure, but he feels pretty confident in his assessment. So, yeah, he is going with another world. Are you feeling better, baby? His mom asks as she puts her book aside. He nods, feeling a bit more balanced. Are you hungry? I thought about making some yummy pancakes this morning. She smiles at him. He feels a smile stretch on his face. I'd like that. All right, now you get out of bed, clean up, and I'll start breakfast. She leaves him to it, and Izuku sighs in relief. Whatever happened to him, Mom doesn't seem to have noticed. It? At all? That remains to be seen, but for now, everything is fine. He escapes her room and ducks into the bathroom without entering his own bedroom. He doesn't want to see the hero on his walls that reminds him way too much of Steve Rogers. Both blonde, very buff, a stupid grin on their face, and walking around in an American flag for clothing which looks like spandex. He takes his little stool, so he can reach the sink and looks into the mirror. He really is just a small child. Very round face, dark green curly hair, big gorgeous, if he says so himself, eyes and freckles. Freckles everywhere. He is cute. He is going to get things done with eyes like those. Manipulating people to get his way should be easy now. Just flash them the eyes and they'll cave. He nods at himself. Glad to have that confirmed. He knew what he looked like, it's just, after last night, he wanted to make sure he still looks like Izuku, and not some weird mash between Izuku and Tony gone wrong. Breakfast is absolutely amazing. It feels so long since he's had a home-cooked meal. Tony is a genius in a lab, but let's just say dumbest smoothies hadn't been a mistake. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Tony actually got banned from anything and everything resembling cooking and kitchens years ago. Pepper knows how to cook, but had never had the time, and any friend that had come over, like Rhodey? Well, long story short, Tony had chefs and they regularly ordered takeout. Izuku is torn between savoring his pancakes and eating them as quickly as possible. After breakfast, he convinces his mother to let him loose on the computer. It looks like a prehistoric thing, the screen is huge and big and the quality is just... No, those are worries for later. For now, he spends as long as he can surfing online, trying to get some general information about the world he now lives in. Because what 6-year-old knows anything about the world they live in? Izuku has no idea what country he lives in, or what society is like. Sure, he can tell you all the heroes that patrol this town, and who is in the hero top 5, and he can recite his phone number and address, but that is about it. He finds lots of things on the internet. He even makes a list of other things he thinks about, to research later, so he doesn't forget and doesn't get distracted. His mom will come in later and restrict his access to the machine, so he has to pace himself. It will take him weeks to satisfy his curiosity, but for now, he has enough to think about. Quirks are something that hadn't been around before either. Such a fascinating subject, these quirks. They are as unique as every individual human. No two quirks are alike. About a year ago, he remembers feeling devastated when a doctor told him he was quirkless. Izuku had dreamed of having an awesome quirk and becoming a hero. But it's a relief not to have one. Quirks look a lot like magic from this new point of view, and Tony Stark has never liked magic. Oh, he doesn't deny it had been around. After Loki, Thor, Wanda, and even Strange, denial isn't an option, but Tony was as a scientist at heart. While the rest of the world has gone crazy, he finds it a relief to know he is still just a human. No enhancement, no extra limbs, no special powers. Just pure him. Don't count the reincarnation thing gone wrong, of course. Can that count as a special power though? Aside from remembering, all it seems to do is cause him nightmares. Seems getting reborn doesn't get rid of your past traumas. Who would have thought? But no, he is quirkless, hallelujah. He spends the rest of his day with his mom, who is obviously very happy with this. She tries to help him finish up his homework, really? He needs to learn how to write again? Sure, Japanese is a bit more complicated than English, but honestly, he is a genius. It's not that hard, but he quickly gets the hang of that and finishes it. He even finishes the rest of the writing exercises in his little workbook out of boredom. Well done, Izuku. You are so smart. His mom praises him. It makes him feel uncomfortable because he loves praise, but this is so simple he doesn't feel like he deserves it. With no more schoolwork to take his mind off of his boredom, he tries to keep himself occupied. This proves to be a challenge because his toys have never felt more childish than now. He's obviously outgrown them overnight and there isn't really much to do in their little apartment other than watching television and playing with his toys. Watching mindless television makes him anxious to do something, so he bounces around, leans out of the window to look into the city, and is even tempted to take apart and rebuild their old television, just to have something to do. His mother despairs and thinks of a solution. She decides they can go take a walk to help him calm down. Holding her hand, he is humming and skips along. It's not much of a solution, but it gives him new things to watch. while Izuku now thinks being quirkless is a blessing, but he is obviously the only one. It's been a week now since he woke up feeling more like Tony than Izuku, and this last week has been an eye-opener. The kids at school bully him, his teachers ignore it, and his mother seems to think he is made of glass. She won't even let him go to the library by himself. It's just down the street. She says it is because he is too small to go by himself, but Izuku isn't sure. A lot of kids his age wander around after school hours, so he can't help but link his mother's worries to his quirkless status. On one hand, she obviously cares for him, but on the other, she has deemed him not capable in the same breath. Useless, as Kachin, no Katsuki-ken, Bakugo always calls him. He isn't sure how he feels about that, especially since he feels more like a grown man than the little child he now is. Tony Stark had always done things his own way, from a young age. Mostly because no one could be bothered to help him out. Tony Stark is a genius, no matter the life he is in, which makes life at home hard. It is downright boring. Watching TV and playing with hero dolls? Nope, no way, he needs to keep busy. His brain is flashing with questions, a need to find answers to lots of random questions, and he's never been good at sitting still. His hands itch to get to work. It's always been his coping mechanism. Head too full with thoughts? Build something. Preferably a new Iron Man suit. But he can't right now. He's 6, for one, and he doesn't have access to a workshop either. Never mind that he doesn't have the funds to pay for the materials. And that is only thinking about the suit, never mind its energy source. Still, after years of being Iron Man, he's not ready to give it up. Can he though? There are lots of flashy heroes on the news every day. The most famous All Might is clearly empowered in a Steve Rogers kind of way, which, as soon as he sees the resemblance, kills the hero worship he had felt for the man dead. The similarities are too big and he still wakes up screaming after dreaming of Siberia. Either way, heroes on TV or on the streets are people with very flashy quirks. Now, Izuku knows he can be a hero too. His doubts end because he knows he can do it now. He has before. The insecurity is gone, and he feels so much lighter for it. It's like a huge burden has been taken off his shoulders. He is Iron Man. The suit is just part of the equation. But the suits aren't Iron Man. Iron Man has always been Tony Stark. He isn't ready to give that up. He won't. Still, he has time. He's not even in his teens. Hero work is something for adults. He had told Peter that enough times. And part of him wants to just have a normal childhood. He barely lasts a day. Being normal is boring, killing his mind, and just no fun at all, so he commandeers the computer and does some research. Mostly into the laws of this world, because a world so focused on its quirked population must have laws in place. Something like the Accords have probably been put in place generations ago, and he isn't someone who half-buttes things and goes in blind. He likes knowing, he likes researching and making things, and if that makes him the smartest person in the room, well, that just proves that everyone else is stupid. Not knowing puts him at a serious disadvantage. It takes him a while and some all-nighters behind Mom's back, because she won't allow him this long on the computer to find everything he needs concerning the laws, and all in all, he finds it very lacking. Turns out, most laws don't apply to him. Another bonus to being quirkless. Most laws are worded in such a way that being quirkless excludes him immediately. Being a villain or criminal is using your quirk while harming people or things with the idea to do bad. Using your quirk to help people out, but without having a license? Also illegal, and one gets named a vigilante. On the other hand, quirk discrimination is also impossible if one doesn't have a quirk. There is no law that protects people without quirks, which is a bummer. Apparently, the kids in his school aren't doing anything wrong when they beat him up. Sure, they should get into trouble when they beat up another kid, but only because that kid has a quirk. Not so awesome that, but on the other hand no one can punish him if he stands up for himself. Still, no laws actually limit quirkless people in what they want to do. It's almost as if society has forgotten people like him exist. It is depressing in a way, but also good for him. He can exploit that as much as he wants. If he manages to create an armor, nothing in the law says he can't go out with it, especially if he ends up helping people out. So, he plans. He thinks and plots and plans. After weeks of thinking from one extreme plan to the next, he can only come to one realistic conclusion. He needs funds to build all he wants to build. He's too small to take a job though. He could go out and scavenge, or maybe put flyers in mailboxes to say he accepts broken electronics. It's a start. But long-term? He needs to go to UA Academy. Their support program is known for only taking the best, and because they do, they can be very generous with the material they give their students to work with. UA also has a reputation for being the best high school in Japan, regardless of what people want to do later in life. Even if he starts as a support student, he can transfer to the hero course if he wants to, should he impress the teachers enough. It's not a widely known fact, but it is actually mentioned on their prehistoric-looking website. Any student can be transferred to another course should a teacher see some benefit in that. He isn't sure he wants to though. Well, being an official hero could be very limiting for him, because he'd fall under a lot of new laws that he didn't before. Still, graduating from the support course leaves a nasty taste in his mouth as well. Support course, as if that is all people like him are good for. Supporting heroes. It sounds so below what it really is, and heroes can be very ungrateful. Now, don't get him wrong, he has nothing against the idea. He himself has supplied the Avengers with everything and anything they'd ever needed, from food to housing to weapons, to anything he can think of, but he can't actually recall if anyone ever thanked him for any of it. He has time, though, to figure out what he wants. UA has an age limit for applications. So he'll have to be patient either way and find something else to occupy himself with until he reached general high school age. He's never been good at being patient though. Everyone who knows Tony Stark can attest to that. So, what can he do in the meantime? Ideally, he'll create another AI. Preferably an old one. He had never recreated Jarvis after the Ultron fiasco. Partially as a punishment to himself, partially because it hurt. He'd just lost his oldest friend and it would have been impossible to recreate him, just the way he had been by the end. Now though? Now he longs for a bit of familiarity. He aches for it. However, trying to completely recreate Jarvis, or any other of his working AIs, is virtually impossible. Tony Stark was as a pioneer in the area of AIs. No one else could create what he did, and not only were his creations intelligent, they could think for themselves and they learned. That is the biggest issue. You can't recreate something that evolved to such a point. Sure, he can recreate the same base code, but there is no guarantee this new AI would turn out to be anything like his old ones. He does recall a few of his AIs that had never had the chance to go online though. Brand new and ready to go, yet never launched. Determined, he grabs a notebook and starts writing. His mother has gotten it for his previous hero obsession, but Tony tears the first few pages of scribbles out and starts anew. Just brainstorming for now, materials, coding, even where he'd store his AI's servers, and how many of those he'd need. It will take years, he knows that, but he's determined to see it through, and the earlier he starts, the sooner he gets it done. Again, money will be another problem though. Was he any older he would have thought to get a job, maybe something part-time, after school, but he is 6, and anyone who thinks of employing a 6-year-old is not someone kids should be around. There are solutions for that. He could probably rob a bank at some point, and since he won't use a quirk to pull it off, he should be able to go free. Those laws are really lacking. Not that bank robbery is an option right now, he's still too small. Also, priorities Tony. Stealing is bad. Still though, it seems like a big thing that 20% of the population is excluded by most laws. A positive point of this world is that every insurance almost always includes some villain hero damage claim. If you got hurt in such a fight or your property got damaged, your insurance took care of it. No, brain, stop drifting off. Money management isn't his strong suit. To be honest, he had never needed to manage money. He'd always had more than even he in his party years could ever completely spend. So he has work to do. The nightmares don't stop. Izuka dreams of his life as Tony every night since he started remembering. Some are nice dreams, like the first time any of his AIs turn online, Pepper, Rhodey, Happy, hell, even the kid features a few times. Most of the time though, he wakes up screaming. Mostly he dreams of Afghanistan and Siberia, But sometimes he sees Pepper fall to her death in a blaze of fire, Peter turning to dust, or he sees Rhodey plummet to the ground. Sometimes it's fighting Thanos, the terror he felt then, and the people dying afterward. Honestly, he has enough bad memories to pick from that it's a surprise he doesn't wake up screaming every night. He's never needed much sleep and has worked on all-nighters all his life, so it is frustrating to be so dependent on sleep now. His body needs it, even when he fights against falling asleep. More often than not these days he ends up falling asleep at his desk. He's fallen out of his chair more than once after violently waking up from the memories. It's not that big a trouble when the falling happens at home. His mother doesn't hover around him that much. She only notices a fall or two. School is a bigger problem. His teachers don't appreciate him falling asleep in their classes. They appreciate it even less when he can answer their questions correctly after rudely waking him up. He can't help it if their lessons are too easy though. He already knows the materials, he's been reading ahead, way ahead, and it makes classes even more boring. He tried making blueprints in his notebooks, but they don't appreciate that either. Really, there is no pleasing them. Not that he is trying very hard, mind you. The other children keep making fun of him. The bullying isn't getting any better. No Bakugo seems especially relentless in his pursuit. Just yesterday, the kid had been all in his face, calling him Deku, as if being quirkless makes him useless. Old habits die hard though, and he had flinched from the boy on instinct. Izuku tries to simply ignore him and had continued walking. Bakugo had not been happy, and Izuku had only managed to avoid serious burns because he had immediately run off. Running isn't Tony's go-to way of dealing with things like this, but right now he is neither strong enough nor important enough to pull off his usual strategies. He is going to be glad once he gets ahead in school and skips a few grades. No more Bakugo to deal with then. Izuku tries to avoid the blonde as much as possible. He just doesn't understand what the blonde's problem is. So what if he is quirkless? How is that any of Bakugo's business? Why does he care so much? Especially if the kid wants to be a hero, because what kind of hero is also a bully? It just doesn't make sense. Well, it makes more sense once Izuku takes a closer look at this hero society he now lives in. Being a hero is about being strong and popular. For lots of heroes at least, that seems to be what it is all about. The more popular you are, the more money you make. Heroes actually get paid to do heroic deeds. Like what? It's not a bad idea. Not all heroes are multi-billionaires like Iron Man, but the grading system is wrong. If you are going to pay heroes, at least pay them for what they actually do. Just last night, a hero called Endeavor caused massive collateral damage. Sure, he had caught the villain, and Izuku has never implied that isn't important, but how many people had been hurt in that fight? The news had said dozens had been taken to the hospital with burn wounds, and still, people cheer like the man is some sort of rock star. What? So, yeah, he has issues? Between the nightmares, the bullying, and his changed attitude towards everything hero. His mom worries. After 3 weeks of non-stop nightmares, his mother takes him to a doctor. The same midget doctor who had proclaimed him quirkless. Now, again, Izuku doesn't mind being quirkless now. He had before he remembered being Tony, but he's seen and met enough enhanced humans in his last life. He has seen magic and aliens and all sort of weird crap, which is why he's relieved he's a simple human being, just like his last life. Well, a very smart human being, but without any weird powers. He's never needed any powers before. His mind is amazing enough to make him anything he could ever need. When the doc can't find an explanation for what is happening to him, Mon takes him to another one. And another one. Scared his nightmares are something more. Because it isn't normal for a 6-year-old to suddenly have such frequent and terrifying nightmares. It isn't, she is right, it is far from normal. But Izuku isn't going to try and explain what he thinks happened. Quirks or no quirks, reincarnation is something else. And yes, the doctors are sure he really doesn't have a quirk. They checked. No quirk. At least they stopped thinking he has an intelligence enhancement quirk. The teachers at school think he is cheating somehow. So they do more tests and in the end, they admit defeat. The only conclusion they can make is that Izuku somehow has PTSD. And he has. He's had that ever since Afghanistan when he was still only Tony, but little Izuku? Nothing has happened to him to explain such a diagnosis. Still, the doctor's visits have ended with a recommendation to a child psychiatrist. Which is probably the right choice. But how can a psychiatrist ever help him without Izuku ever really talking to them? All his nightmares are from things that happened to him in his past life. How on earth is he going to handle this? That he isn't fond of. He had created Barf once upon a time, to not need to go see a psych. And if he is being honest with himself, his current problems show that might not have been a very successful solution. He's not getting out of this though, his mother is adamant. So here he is, sitting with his mom in a waiting room and waiting to see the person who is supposed to help him get better. He doesn't want to be here. Izuku looks around nervously. Midoriya-san, the receptionist calls out. Sensei will see you now. He sighs as his mother gets up. She gently but firmly takes his hand in hers and pulls him up. He is forced to follow her. This will be fun. He sighs as he enters the office. It looks cozy. Central in the room there are about 4 one-person couch seats facing each other with a small table between them. There is a pile of board games on another table in the corner and a desk by the far wall. He isn't sure what he had expected, but this isn't it. The psychiatrist is a tall man, with weird purple hair, and he smiles gently as they walk in. Please, take a seat, both of you. My name is Shinsu-sensei. They all sat down, Izuku right across the man, and his mom in the seat between them. Now, this is just a first talk, to see if Izuku-kun feels comfortable talking to me. If at any point you don't feel like you can talk to me, please let me know. We can then look for someone else to help you out. The man eyes Izuku. Is that possible? Asks. It is very possible and very common, Shinsu-sensei reassures her. It's important to have a bit of a relationship with patients before tackling the hard subjects. If young Izuku feels uncomfortable when we simply talk about the small stuff, then it is useless to try for more. He turns towards Izuku once more. Your mom will only be here for our first talk. Next time you and I will be by ourselves. Now, I have already talked to your mom about this, but will you tell me why you are here? Nightmares. Nightmares, huh? That is a bother. Do you have them often? The man asks. Izuku shrugs, not really feeling like playing along. Are you tired, Izuku-kun? Do you sleep during the day? He shakes his head. I'm too busy. Oh, that is nice. What do you like to do? I hear you are very smart. Izuku shrugs again. School is easy. I like to make stuff. Make things like art? The man keeps on smiling, and while usually that would piss Tony off, to Izuku it is simply reassuring. No, Izuku smiles a bit. People in the neighborhood bring their broken electronics to our place and I take them apart. Then I use those parts to build new stuff. Wow, that is impressive. What have you made already? The man looks impressed. And while Izuku realizes his mom probably told the man this already, he can't help but relax a bit more. They keep on talking about his hobbies, and before he knows it their hour together is done. Now, I think that went very well for our first talk. What do you think, Izuku-kun? Would you like to come to talk to me again, or would you rather try talking to someone else? You're fine. Izuku shrugs with a smirk. All right, let me know if that changes. Shinsu-sensei smiles back. And I will see you in a few days. They let him skip a grade. It would be a relief, should be, for any normal kid this smart, but Izuku isn't normal. Tony had never done school at a normal pace. It is slow. So slow. It reminds him that yes, he really is a genius. That isn't just a title people gave him to make him feel better about himself. Well, either that or other people are even more stupid than he remembers. Still, it starts with one grade, and then a few months later another. The only reason he hadn't graduated before now is that it worries his mother. Apparently, he doesn't have enough, really, friends, and skipping grades won't help him make friends. So as the years pass, Izuku occupies himself as best as he can. He takes online classes when possible and he has his little tech projects at home. He really goes around the neighborhood, knocking on doors to see if anyone had any broken electronics, and he's gotten a surprisingly good haul the first time around. A broken TV, 3 old laptops, and a few of those brick cell phones they had in this world. People are hoarders. If something breaks, something expensive, it's usually very difficult to just throw it away. Still, they are happy to hand over their things when he asks for them. Why does he need them? School project, of course. Before he leaves, he gives them each a little flyer with his phone number, just in case they have more stuff he can use in the future. It works really well. His mother, happy he has found something to occupy himself with, is very enthusiastic in helping him out. She takes him to a beach not too far from their place, which had been turned into a dumping ground years ago. He has never loved her more than on that day. It is a treasure trove. He spends half a day scavenging what he can, immediately stripping everything he doesn't need away, and only loading the parts he can use into their car. Now, he finally has what he needs to start building his new AI. Just in time too, because he finally graduates middle school at around the same time. He is barely 10 years old when he graduates, but Izuku is happy about it. He has long since left his bullies behind, Bakugo in particular, and he refuses to spend so much time on stuff he already knows. He'd rather learn something new. Still, he takes lots of online classes when their budget allows for it, which is surprisingly a lot. His dad isn't around, like ever, but he calls and sends them enough money to accommodate quite a few classes. The first few classes he takes are to accommodate past knowledge. Basic knowledge of physics, engineering, and stuff like that. Even in this world, those classes are a breeze. Still, he needs to occupy himself. UA, his high school of choice, has age restrictions, so it'll be another 5 years before he even starts that chapter of his life. So he focuses on his AI, for now. He is taking a little break from his online classes. He thinks he has enough cover-up excuses for most of his suddenly acquired knowledge for now, and focuses on building himself some servers that are big enough to house a learning AI, or at least that are a big enough start. He gets very mucky with that. On his third visit to the beach, he actually finds a, in his eyes, very old computer tower, probably owned by the government at some point, and convinces his mother to take it home with them. It makes things easier because, sure, he needs to repair it and replace pieces, but the majority of the work is already done. This means he doesn't need to build one from scratch. He installs old webcams and speakers in his room and the old guest room, which is now his lab space. He doesn't want to wire the whole apartment in one go. He doesn't want to overwhelm his mother, and it feels better to start small. Also, Mom won't let him break apart their whole home to install the necessary cables. Once the groundwork is done, he connects their computer, improved by himself, to the whole system and starts writing the base code that all his AIs possessed. It all takes time. He refuses to rush this. He needs to take his time and make sure no mistakes are made, and he is still very busy aside from all his work. Therapy turns out better than he expected. Sure, he can't talk about everything with the man, but the talks they do have are nice. He feels lighter afterward, and more importantly, his mother seems happier as well. Less worried. That is always a bonus. He talks about lots of stuff with Shinsu-sensei. The bullying that still happens, even if he is done with school for a while, he's taken to avoiding as many of the neighbor kids as he can, his lack of quirk, and his tinkering hobby. It's just talking Fin the beginning. They sometimes play a board game while he is there. They haven't touched on the nightmares yet, and Izuku doesn't mind. This helps plenty, and it's already more helpful than he ever thought possible, because, before Shinsu-sensei points it out, he had never even considered he might feel anxious. Like all the time. And he does. Well, not when he was nose-deep in his tinkering, but usually when dealing with people. Yes, he is anxious, and it is only now that he realizes he felt the same way when he was Tony. Never sure what to expect, never sure how to react appropriately, generally, just waiting for things to go wrong. Oh, he had hidden it better as Tony. His image screamed arrogance and confidence back then. But deep down? Nope, deep down he was a mess. Even now. Especially now. Here he can't lock himself in his lab for 3 days straight without coming out. He can't fool his mother like he fooled Rhodey and Pepper, who had been busy as well and couldn't babysit him all the time. It's very confronting already, and they haven't even touched on the really bad stuff. They talk about it, about how he deals with it, mostly by avoiding the problem and focusing on something else, even if that means simply having no sleep at all at night, Why those ways aren't bad per se, but also not the healthiest. They discuss other ways of dealing with it and what helps him feel better afterward. Lots of cuddles turn out to be an answer to that. Cuddles make him feel better. How embarrassing. He is still young enough to shamelessly cuddle with his mom. It is something he still marvels at, being able to go up to her and just cuddle, without having to explain anything. Still, Shinsu-sensei suggests another possible solution, keeping in mind that Izuku might soon grow out of mommy's cuddles. A pet. His psychiatrist has convinced his mother to get him a pet. Not that he meets a lot of resistance, his mom is very easy to convince. Convincing Izuku is the hard part. An unofficial emotional support pet. Just an animal to have at home that he can cuddle. He can cuddle plenty with his mom, Ori. They do so every evening on the couch. Well, when he can convince her to put on a movie. But either way, his mom is convinced. So, she asks him what kind of pet he wants. Izuku only shrugs. He's never been fond of animals. Well, we live in a small space. A dog would be very impractical. We don't have a garden, and honestly, going on walks a few times a day sounds very time-consuming. She muses out loud. Izuku makes a face. More time outside? No thanks. She giggles at him. A cat then? They are pretty self-reliant. Well, a cat is probably for the best. He doesn't see himself cuddling with fish, though a tank would be awesome as well. Birds? Nope. No thank you. Some sort of, he doesn't want to say rodent, but he isn't sure what else to call them. Nope, if he really has to get a pet, an uninterested cat is probably for the best. She insists on going to a rescue center, and not just an animal shop. Izuku doesn't mind either way. In the end, they go to a cat cafe because why not start this experience by seeing lots of cats at the same time? This cafe works with the shelter a few blocks away. Mom says, you can spend some time there and see if there is a cat or kitten you like. Izuku grunts, not really enthusiastic. There is a reason he kept creating AIs in his last life instead of adopting a pet to keep him company, and he's never really had to take care of a living being before. People usually take care of him, not the other way around. So no, he's not looking forward to it. He's still a bit grouchy when he waits for his mom to sign the paperwork. No, he is not allergic. Yes, he is allowed to adopt one cat if he wants to. Blah blah, boring. He can already see the area of the cafe where all the cats are. There are some tables with cozy chairs. Lots the cat trees and other furniture the cats can climb up on, even loose cushions and toys everywhere. There are already other people inside. Now, sweetie, you look around for a cat, and I'll be back after I'm done with our groceries, all right? His mom smiles brightly at him. Izuku can't help but nod. He huffs as soon as she is gone. So, he is big enough to do this on his own, but walking to the library is still too much? Really, mothers are so strange, or is that just something weird that is unique to this mother? So lucky he's a boy this time around as well. He can't imagine what it would be like to be a girl. He'd probably rock it either way, but still, he is not going to complain about not being a girl. No, sir. The girl who talked to his mom lets him into the cat area, and he stands a bit lost at the door. They are everywhere. The cats, in all colors and shapes, everywhere. It's a bit overwhelming, and he takes a moment just to take it all in and then goes to sit at the most cat-free table available. Mom gave him money for a snack, but he really doesn't want to get cat hair in his food. A waitress approaches him. So, do you want to eat something? She smiles at him. Sure, just a sandwich and some lemonade, please. He replies reluctantly because he knows his mom will throw him a disappointed look otherwise when she gets back. You can go sit closer to the cats, you know? She says. I know. He warily eyes one of the smaller kittens making its way toward him on unsteady paws. The girl giggles, but leaves soon after with his order. An orange-colored kitten jumps at his shoes and attacks his laces. Not sure how to respond, Izuku nudges it with the foot it is striking. The kitten, for some strange reason, only sees this as a reason to continue its attack with more enthusiasm. The waitress gets back and places his food before him, giggling at him. He looks up. Everyone in the cafe is smiling at him. He flushes bright red. Oh, that is so precious. A man with long blonde hair pulled together in a weird knot at the back of his head and glasses giggles loudly. His black-haired and tired-looking companion nods indulgently, but he flashes Izuku a strangely toothy smile from behind his long white scarf. He flushes even more and looks away, focusing on his food. He picks up his sandwich and takes a bite, determined to ignore the tiny animal now laying over his foot. He flinches when tiny claws climb their way up his leg. The ginger kitten finishes its journey on his lap and Izuku can only stare at it. It stares back. It has a little bit of white under its chin and down the front of its neck, and it has darker stripes in its fur. It looks cute, he supposes. It looks with big eyes at his sandwich. Nope, that is not for you, he says resolutely. The eyes grow bigger. He feels his guard lowering. He narrows his eyes at the animal. Here, you can give him this. The blonde guy from before suddenly stands next to him. He holds his hand out to Izuku and Izuku watches him warily. The man's smile only grows wider. This kitten is usually very shy. My friend and I come here all the time, and we bought some snacks for the cats at the counter. Here, why don't you give some to him? Izuku sets his sandwich down on the table and out of the kitten's immediate reach, and accepts the treats. There are 3 of them and he holds one out to the kitten. The kitten pounces and bites on his fingers to get to it. It doesn't actually hurt, but it does take him by surprise. Hey! The man laughs at him. He sure is a little character. You haven't been around a lot before, haven't you? Izuku shakes his head, watching the kitten lazily eat its snack. Its little tongue runs over his finger, as he hasn't let go of the treat yet. I've never really been around animals. Then this is a big step. Izuku shrugs. The kitten is done with one snack and is sniffing his fingers for another. He sighs and takes another snack and holds it out. It doesn't bite him this time. The kitten eats it, laying on his back in Izuku's lap. Its belly is lighter than the rest of its fur, and Izuku can't help but slide it. It's very soft and the kitten starts purring really loudly. Oh, you two are so cute together. The man practically squeals. I have to go back to my friend now, but you two have fun. Bye. Izuku barely watches the man leave, too busy petting the purring kitten. His mom comes back sometimes later and coos over the 2 of them. By then the kitten has eaten all his snacks and had been sleeping on Izuku's lap ever since. It hasn't budged, even when other cats came over to inspect Izuku. Oh, you are so precious together. She coos at him with a smile. Izuku flushes again. He briefly looks up. The blonde guy from before is still smiling at him, but this time his friend nudges him harshly to stop. What do you think? Do you want to take this one home, Izuku? His mom asks. Izuku thinks hard about it. He supposes if he has to choose a cat here, then he would prefer this one. Sure, it had tried biting his shoes and his finger, but it had also slept peacefully on his lap, letting him pet it. Sure. Mom's smile grows bigger. I'll go take care of that then. And with that, she makes her way back out to the counter. Izuku watches the kitten. It wakes up, well, it opens an eye and stares at him, before closing it again and going back to sleep. He snorts. Yeah, you'll do. I think I'll name you Kitty. Tony Stark is Iron Man. And Iron Man is a hero. At least to this world's standards. He will always be Iron Man. Being a hero? He isn't sure. Iron Man had been born out of a need for, well, let's be honest, revenge and to right a wrong. He'd been angry after Afghanistan. So very angry. And scared. He is man enough to admit that, even if he is only a boy right now. His weapons in the hands of terrorists, harming innocent people. Harming people like Einstein and his family. He had been disgusted when he realized he only cared when confronted with the idea. Before seeing it with his own eyes, it hadn't really sunk in. The horror of it all. The pain of other people. Tony Stark has always been a selfish man, but at that point, he tried to better himself. He likes to think he succeeded. Everywhere, after fights, he had thrown money around and helped with the rebuilding. People might say money can't solve everything and that it was an empty gesture, but when a whole city is destroyed, money can give people hope and the capability to rebuild. You can't rebuild a proper house out of broken parts. Not for long anyhow. Money bought food as well. It wasn't perfect, but he likes to think he'd done what he could. Still, even then people had always blamed him for everything and nothing. While true, Ultron was not his best moment, at some point, he never complained. Even when his teammates started blaming him too. The Accords? Not his idea. Why Steve had thought he had that much influence, he had no idea. No, Captain, he didn't invent this just to annoy you. Honestly, how petty did the guy think he was? Had been? So part of him is reluctant, if that is the right word, to go down the hero path again, especially since it had led to him dying on a destroyed planet in one lifetime. But he is nothing if not a realist. He longs for his armor. He misses the feeling of security it always gave him. Just yesterday, Bakugo had gotten up in his face, and Izuku had, in true Tony fashion, mouthed back. It had resulted in first-degree burns. Nothing serious, but the kid had literally blown up in his face. Why Bakugo keeps insisting on seeking him out even if Izuku is neither in his class nor his school anymore is mind-blowing. He will get hurt a lot if not talking back is a requirement for that. Now, Izuku is used to this kind of behavior from his former friend. It is his standard of life, or it was, until he remembered being Tony and knew better. Sure, Tony's life had been far from normal as well, but dealing with the Keeper had refreshed his memory on what had been considered normal. Neither of his lives fall into that category. So, yes, part of him longs to put the suit back on and just be Iron Man. Help people, and show these arrogant JRKs that he at least doesn't need a quirk to be a hero. That is a big part too. He is petty like that even now. Still, even after all these years, the whole Avengers fallout still hurts him. He had considered them friends. He really had. Not very close friends, like Rhodey and Pepper. Close friends at least called to see if you were alive after your house blew up on national television. Yes, he is bitter about that, so sue him. So he hesitates. This world. It has rules in place. Laws to prevent heroes from going rogue, and punish them if they do. This world has dealt with heroes longer than his previous one has. That is good, even if most laws don't really apply to him, being quirkless and all. He'd been so surprised to find out he is excluded of most laws because they specify quirks or their use in them. And while this system is mostly based on popularity, he can totally work with that. He isn't sure the concept is exactly what it should be. He wants to keep inventing and tinkering though. So, maybe a part-time hero? Is there even such a thing? Giving up his tinkering is not an option. He wants to help this society move forward. Televisions are huge still, and he is not talking about the screen is tiny compared to the whole thing. Cell phones are still so very basic, flip phones with only text and call options. Hell, it's a miracle the internet exists. Well, that and he wants to help support his mother. By now she is working 2 jobs to keep up with his psychologist's bills and extra lessons and really paying for everything that catches his attention in terms of learning. It would be nice if he could make enough money off of that to buy him what he needs to keep himself tinkering, but also to lighten her workload. Having no money is tough. Still, he is very undecided. He's searched the UA website for more information, but double majors don't seem possible. It is mentioned nowhere anyway. One either becomes a hero or one joins the support course. There is no in-between. Which is CKS. But, just because it isn't mentioned on the website, does that mean it is impossible? He will have to find out. Still, high school is still far away. He has more pressing things to worry about first. Having Kitty around helps. Cuddling the kitten helps keep his anxiety down. Even with his talks, anxiety isn't something that leaves him alone. He hadn't been this way before. At least, not like this. Not until lots of stuff happened and usually he had been able to control it. He might have picked up some bad habits along the way, but it had never been such a big part of him as it seems to be now. He hates it. It makes him doubt himself at the most inconvenient times. And it felt less overwhelming, somehow, while being Tony. Early on in his life at least. Shinsu-sensei has warned him he will have to deal with it his whole life. He's learning to get some sense of control over it, but depending on what happens in his life, it may peak again at times. So, yeah, Izuku hates that bit. The exercises help. A bit. Calming his mind is hard. Shinsu-sensei had started with the safe place technique, but that hadn't really worked. When had Tony Stark ever be safe? No, the breathing exercises work better for him, but it's easier to just distract himself when he feels an attack coming. He starts recognizing the signs immediately nowadays. Just a bit of pressure in his chest. So, he throws himself into his projects and starts tinkering. Then, when he finally does need to go to sleep, his mom is being very watchful and will drag him away if he shows signs of staying up all night. He finds that falling asleep with Kitty on his chest, purring away, is the best and easiest way to do so. He'd been reluctant to get the kitten, but he loves it now. Loves him, and yes, Izuku found out the kitten was male when they adopted it. It says so in his little passport book. Kitty has playful moments, but all in all the kitten is very calm and well-behaved. He tries to imagine Pepper's face. If she could see him now. It still hurt to think of her. And Rhodey and Peter. Time goes on though, and the pain dulls a bit. Well, it's not present in every waking moment. He's told himself he's only allowed to mourn them and pity himself during bathroom time in the morning. If he sticks to that time, he's able to manage the rest of his day without wasting away. He keeps busy. And, as mentioned before, Shinsu-sensei helps. A bit. It's at the end of one of their sessions together that Shinsu-sensei brings up a new idea. Now, I found something a few days ago, and when I saw it I immediately thought of you. I think this could be a great opportunity. He holds out a bunch of printed papers. Izuku grimaces, but Sensei immediately notices. Instead of making a big deal out of it, Sensei just lays the papers on the desk and waits for Izuku to take them. Tony had never liked to be handed things. No idea why, it was just a pet peeve of his. One Izuku seemingly inherited. He eyes the paper, an eyebrow rising in disbelief as he read the first few lines. A summer camp? He asks skeptically. Yes. Shinsu-sensei says with a smile. Seriously? Izuku mutters as he keeps reading. A whole week? With kids his own age? No reprieve? That does not sound appealing. I see you don't like it. But this is a program designed for people with ambitions to make it into the support business. It is? Must have looked over that. Izuku mutters again, scanning the paper again. Shinsu-sensei hums a tune while Izuku reads the paper more seriously. Izuku looks up, a grimace on his face again. Yeah, I don't know. Do I have to go? Of course not. Sensei blinks in shock. I was never going to make you go, if that isn't what you want. Really? Of course. It just seems like a good opportunity for you. We can talk it over? I can tell you my reasoning, you can tell me why you seem reluctant, and then you can do with this what you want. Izuku nods. This is how it usually goes, though this is the first time Sensei has suggested something so directly. Usually Izuku's homework is more abstract. Try this, think about this. Stuff like that. They fill the rest of the hour talking about it. And yes, Sensei has enough good points that Izuku might just try this. This camp is meant to give people a better idea about what it means to get a support license. There is the tinkering and inventing part as well, and he is sort of interested in that as well. Plus, it's with other kids who have the same interests. He's still undecided about that. He is curious but apprehensive. In the end, he decides to go and immediately talk it over with his mom. Once he tells her, and she sets things in motion, he won't be able to change his mind. The most important reason he goes, or at least the reason that made his final decision, is his mom. As always, he knows she worries. She keeps asking him if he made any friends and, until now, he never has been able to tell her yes. Izuku doesn't really mind. He's never been someone with loads of real friends. Give him a few close friends he could depend on and he is happy. It's fun when people like you, and he had loved parties once, but there has always been a difference between those who thought they were his friends and the people he considered his friends. The reverse had also been true, sadly. Well, lessons learned. So, here is to hoping he'll meet someone both smart enough to keep up with him and mature enough to not chase him off. A friend would be nice, especially for his mom. Mostly for his mom actually. He has Kitty and his soon-to-be AI. He is fine, but if a friend keeps her from worrying too much, he'll give it a try. No promises though. His mom is overjoyed, so he already feels like he succeeded. Yet all Izuku feels is dread already. because now that the decision has been made, he can't back out anymore. Only 4 more months to go until he leaves for 1 week filled with screaming teenagers. Anyway, Izuku has had Kitty for a month, when his AI project is finally done. All is in place, and after all his hard work, it is finally ready. All he needs to do is boot it up. He feels strangely nervous about it, and decides to wait until his mom isn't home. If the whole thing blows up, it shouldn't. Really, at least she won't be around to get hurt. He is sitting in his desk chair before the computer, Kitty sleeping in his lap, staring at the screen. One last enter should start the whole thing up, and he finds he is shaking. He gently pets Kitty, mostly to distract himself. The kitten starts purring, but otherwise doesn't move. I should have called you lazy instead of Kitty. He grumbles playfully as he continues petting Kitty. Still, this is a very important moment. He spent years working towards this. And now it is finally time. Izuku takes a deep breath and presses enter. The codes flash over the screen, and he holds his breath in anticipation. It takes a while, but he doesn't mind. No matter how many times he does this, it stays nerve-wracking. What? Where am I? A male voice sounds through the computer speaker. Izuku hesitates. This is the first time since Jarvis that he gave one of his AIs a male voice. It sounds young, just like he programmed it. Young and hesitant. Maybe he made it sound a bit too much like Peter's, after all. Who are you? The AI says. And who? What am I? What is my purpose? My name is Izuku, I created you. Izuku says, ignoring the way his voice cracked. Your name is Tadashi. It's short for Technologically Advanced Digital and Sophisticated Heroic Intelligence. Tadashi doesn't acknowledge his words in the way a human would have. He is too new. He has so much to learn. Izuku looks forward to it. What is my purpose? Your purpose is to learn and help me out when I need you. You help take care of me and my mom and little Kitty here. I see. Don't worry, I'll explain everything in time. Izuku tries to reassure him. Do you feel all right? I think so. I have knowledge of everything in my system. I am not yet connected to the internet. He sounds hesitant as if he has no idea what the word means. Izuku isn't worried. Tadashi will learn. He hasn't connected him just yet, out of fear too much information might overwhelm him, like it had Ultron, once upon a time. No, not just yet. I didn't want to overwhelm you when you came online. That is something? I'll give you some time to process. Izuku suggests. No need, you made my processors fast enough. Question, should I call you Izuku Creator or something else? You can call me whatever you want. Izuku grins. This is always the most fun part of bringing AIs online. I shall have to give that some serious thought then. The AI says. He is always delighted when his AIs first acknowledge they can actually think, and yes, he is very proud of that fact. He has every right to be. That is fine. Take your time. Izuku feels so giddy he could squeal because this is definite proof that he once was Tony Stark. He isn't just hallucinating or going crazy, not that he ever doubted, but it's nice to have it confirmed. In either world, Tony Stark is the only person to have ever created real, functioning AIs. And now, Izuku has done so too. Or again. Depends on how you look at this. He spends some more time just talking to Tadashi. It's nice, but before long he gets nervous again. Introducing his mom to Tadashi is a bit tricky, as it turns out. Having an unseen person answer him in an empty room startles her badly. Oh my. She presses a hand to her chest. Izuku shuffles guiltily. Sorry, Mom, I didn't think he would startle you that badly. No, it's fine. I just did not expect that. She says. What exactly is this? His name is Technologically Advanced Digital and Sophisticated Heroic Intelligence, or Tadashi for short. Izuku says proudly as he introduces her to Tadashi. He is an artificial intelligence. She blinks at him. You made a smart computer program? She guesses. Well, he is smart, but that's not quite what happened. He winces. I created an artificial person? Tadashi can think for himself, can learn, and he can help us out when needed. She seems to think this over. How exactly would he help out? And did you say you made a person? Well, he doesn't have a physical body? Izuku says hesitantly, not sure why she isn't just as excited as he is. And I can wire him through the whole apartment. He could access all the electronics like that. It would be awesome. Let's wait a bit with that. Well, yeah, I don't want to overwhelm him. He is barely half an hour old. I haven't even connected him to the internet yet. Mom takes a deep breath. Izuku, I trust you are being responsible about this. I know you are very smart, but I spend a lot of time thinking this through, Mom. He says softly. He can sort of guess where she is coming from, why she is hesitant. Ultron will never be forgotten in his mind, after all. Alright. Well, Tadashi, my apologies for ignoring you like that. I am Midoriya Inko, your grandmother. She turns towards the computer. Grandmother? Tadashi asks stoically. Well, Izuku is my son. And he did create you, so doesn't that make him your father? And thus, me your grandmother? Izuku snorts. Sorry, I hadn't considered that. I am still a kid though, so, son, might not be completely right. Mom watches him intensely and starts giggling. What? Izuku asks, confused by the sudden change in mood. I do not understand. Tadashi says, confused as well. I'm sorry, I am not laughing at you, Tadashi-kun. It's just, you really liked that movie, didn't you, Izuku? He pouts, refusing to acknowledge he knows what she is talking about. What? I don't know what you mean. Come on now, you know which movie I am talking about. She teases him with a smile. So? That is a happy coincidence. He looks away as his cheeks heat up. I'm sure it is. There is no way you made his name especially so it would spell out Tadashi, didn't you? You did. Tadashi asks unsure. Izuku flushes. Of course not. And he really hasn't. Not really. Sure, he likes that movie a lot, he is a kid alright. He has a good excuse. Now, anyway, but the basic coding of Tadashi had been created a lifetime ago. He had briefly hesitated when bringing Friday online, almost choosing Tadashi. He hadn't, in the end. Jarvis had just died, and the idea of, well, he'd never brought another male AI online after him. It had hurt too much. This is a new life though, he is starting somewhat fresh, and he lives in some version of Japan right now, so Tadashi seemed appropriate. Life goes on. Having Tadashi around helps a lot. In fact, Tadashi is awesome. Not only is his little AI smart like him, but Tadashi is adapting to this new life of his with a speed that leaves Izuku feeling delighted. No offense to his mom, but he now has someone around who can follow his train of thought when he starts rambling. It's nice, and he needs to find things for Tadashi to do. It won't do for his little boy to get bored already, so Izuku gives him research projects to complete. While he is still unsure of what he wants to study, he knows he will attend UA. It is the most prestigious school in Japan, after all. So he sets Tadashi on the school. Just some research, so Izuku knows all the options open to him. He still thinks a double major kind of would be ideal. Stupid website. They should put more info online. Tadashi is hesitant, but with more time that passes, he gets more confident. Izuku gets the results once Tadashi is sure he has combed through all their data. Barely online for a week, and already hacking through systems. Izuku is so proud. Turns out, there isn't much more to find. Sure, there is a hidden rule that general course students can be transferred into the hero course if they impress enough teachers during the sports festival, but that is only for Gen Ed students. No one from another course has ever been transferred into the hero course. Though, there also does seem to be a written rule saying they can't. So, has it simply not happened before? Could be possible. Not every kid dreams of being a superhero, he imagines. Not after a certain age, that is. Also, until now, no one has ever done a double major at the school. It hasn't been tried yet. It's depressing, so he brushes it aside and focuses on something else. He focuses so hard he barely leaves his lab in the weeks that follow. The only reason he can practically be forced out now is when Kitty starts howling for food. Or when his mom really insists. Which she does not. Instead of trying to get him out, she merely makes sure he takes a break every once in a while, She brings him his food and insists he washes himself. She finds an ally in Tadashi in this endeavor. Chief, you should recharge now. I read that humans, especially growing ones, need at least 7 hours of sleep a day, or rather, a night. The AI says. The young voice makes the scolding sound hilarious and Izuku has to fight a grin. He gets up though and starts preparing for bed. Tadashi is getting more confident every day, and he really doesn't want to discourage the learning AI. Izuku himself has enough moments of self-doubt. Now that he doesn't want to encourage it in someone else. Besides, his projects won't run away and it is already 2 o'clock in the morning. And yes, he wakes up not even 2 hours later and eats something small for breakfast. He really can't stand it when his mom looks all disappointed. Then he is back at work. Izuku! His mom calls out an hour or 2 later, sounding rather alarmed. The police are here to talk to you? Izuku looks up from his latest project, an actual smartphone he is designing. Not one of those flip phone thingies. He is just finishing up the blueprint with Tadashi's help. The police? What for? He asks out loud. What on earth could the police want with him? He can't recall doing anything to attract such attention. He scratches at his head. The officer appears to be accompanied by what appears to be the current principal of UA, Nizu. At least according to the data available. Tadashi says, I am sure I have no reason to doubt you. Izuku says with a smile. Even after all his AIs, it is still so precious to see them learn and evolve. This one is a bit more unsure of itself compared to the other ones, and how strange it is that a program system can doubt itself. Still, Izuku is sure Tadashi will soon start gaining more confidence and stop this self-doubt. He stands up, places a sleepy kitty back on his chair so he can continue sleeping and makes his way to the common area of their apartment, and indeed their guests are sitting at the dinner table, between the half-open kitchen and their living room. The apartment has a very open plan. There is a big animal sitting at their table. He had read about it, how the principal of UA is an animal with an intelligence quirk, but seeing it is still something else. What kind of animal is he either way? Izuku also studies the other, only, adult male in the room. It's been decades since he has dealt with the police. Somehow he had expected a Fury look-alike. The man before him could not be more different. He looks kind of plain, but very professional. Hi. He greets them both cheerfully. Both turn to look at him. Izuku, you could have at least washed the stains off your face before greeting our guests. His mom gently reprimands him as she stands up from her chair. He can only guess what he looks like. He had barely slept last night, and he had been so determined to finish his multiple projects. He picks up the fabric of his shirt around his collar and wipes at his face. Are those oil stains? Has he worked with oil since waking up? He can't remember? But he has tinkered with at least 6 different projects already today, so maybe? He should probably change into some fresh clothes, though. These are badly stained. His face must look great as well. The stains, probably some huge bags under his eyes. Maybe he should have brushed his hair, for the first time in days. Oopsie? It is no bother, Midoriya-san. The animal says with a grin as Izuku sits down as well. He eyes the 2 people at the table, trying to look relaxed. Which is difficult because now he feels a bit anxious, though he has no idea why exactly. Now, my name is Nizu. Am I a bear, a mouse, who can tell? Nizu continues on cheerfully. I am the principal of UA and here next to me is Tsukachi Naomesa, a police detective in the police force. We are here to speak with you. Well, you already know my name, so, Izuku says with a shrug of his shoulders. What did you want to talk about? We were here because we have some questions. We already asked your mother some, and she insisted that we talk to you concerning everything computer and technology related. Nizu says. I'm good at it, sure. Izuku confirms, still not sure exactly what is going on. What the matter? Someone at this address hacked UA's systems. Tsukachi says seriously. Izuku blinks at them, looking from one of them to the other. His mother throws him a frown. And you think I did it? He asks unsure, pointing at himself. The IP address pointed us to you, yes. Nizu smiles. You stayed away from personal files, like those of students and staff, as well as our campus security, which is the only reason we are here and not down at the police station. The principal frowns at him now. You seemed very interesting in everything concerning the entrance exams and the general working of our school though. Nizu-san insisted on talking to you, which is why he is leading this conversation. Tsukachi explains. Yes, we did some research on you. A brilliant young man you have there, Midoriya-san. Depending on how this conversation goes, we might just decide to not press charges. Charges? Izuku, his mom sighs. It is true my son is very smart in some aspects. In others, clearly not so much. She frowns at him. Izuku grins sheepishly. And oh, wow, he definitely needs more sleep, because he only now realizes what they are talking about. But that is a while ago now? Has it taken them that long to track him? And he had not expected the police to come find him. Though, it has been ages since he got in trouble for something like this. The world had once given up on trying to reprimand Tony Stark for something as simple as a hack. If they even found out he did it in the first place. Because usually his AIs go undetected. Izuku hums. Well, technically that both is and isn't my fault. Both adult raise an eyebrow. Explain. The officer says. Well, it wasn't me who did the hacking, but I did ask someone to do so. I got curious about the exam requirements. He shrugs with a grin, not sorry at all for what he has done. Who did then? Tadashi. Mom completely sags in her chair in exasperation. Of course. Tsukachi only raises an eyebrow in curiosity. There are only 2 people listed as habitants of this apartment. So, knowing that, who is Tadashi? Nizu asks curiously, continuing the detective's train of thought. I could introduce you? Izuku asks. Mom isn't keen on giving him access. Everywhere in our house just yet, so for now, the only way to interact with him is either in my room or in my lab. Lead the way. Nizu stands up, and with a shrug, Izuku does as asked. He can't suppress a grin as he walks before both adults. This will be fun. He leads them inside his lab. Loose parts are lying everywhere. Kitty looks up when they come in. He actually woke up for this. And both adults look around the room with wary eyes. He can see them realize there is no one else in the room. Nizu briefly eyes Kitty like he's also a smart animal, but seems to dismiss the idea quickly enough. Dashiko-kun, say hello to the nice UA teacher and the detective. Izuku says as they focus their attention back on him. Hello, sirs. It is very nice to meet you. Tadashi says dutifully. Their eyes grow wide and Tsukachi looks around as if someone is going to pop out of the wall. Nizu eyes Izuku with narrowed eyes. Where is your friend? The police officer asks. He's all around. Tadashi is an AI, an artificial intelligence. I created him, and when I asked, he hacked into UA's system to get the info I wanted. Always glad to help. I'll need to get better though. Practice more. If they tracked me back here so easily, Tadashi says disgruntled. Izuku bursts out laughing. I'd rather you didn't practice how to hack, Tadashi-san. Nizu says with a grimace. Midoriya-san, you made him? Yeah, it took years though. I needed to wire him completely by hand, build his servers, write his code. It took a lot of time. He grins at them. Tsukachi grimaces, but Nizu looks interested. What exactly can he do? You could ask him. Izuku shrugs. One of my AI's main protocols is to learn. He is free to learn what he wants. I prefer learning things that help me support Chief and his mother. It is fun. Tadashi is still very young. He only came online about 2 or 3 weeks ago. It seemed like a good opportunity, and I was curious. Izuku explains proudly. 3 weeks, Chief. You were curious? Well, yeah, I want to know my options. UA is by far the best high school around. Still, some people would say I am somewhat limited, despite my intelligence. Knowing my options seemed like the best bet. I'd rather not try out for your entrance exams, only to be denied entry. Why would you be dash? I am quirkless. He says before they jump to conclusions. And why would you being quirkless be a reason you wouldn't be allowed into my school, Midoriya-kun? Most people seem to think being quirkless is a synonym for being useless. Izuku shrugs. I don't agree, but getting people to change their mind feels like a useless endeavor. It hasn't worked yet, and I have better things to do. While it is true no quirkless student has ever been admitted, there is nothing in the rules preventing them from doing so. Nizu says, I know. Izuku grins at the headmaster. By the way, Tadashi looked up that information quite a while ago. Did it really take you that long to find us? Nice, Dashi-kun. He beams at the webcam in the corner from which Tadashi has access to see what happens in the room. You flatter me. Tadashi actually sounds smug now. Izuku is shaking in excitement. His little boy is growing. This chapter text. You seem like a very bright young man. The headmaster finally says, I am assuming you want to try out for our support course in the future? Well, I have another year to figure that out. Izuku shrugs. Though Island Academy is the only other school he has considered, besides UA. Island is very tempting, and briefly he entertained the thought of going there, of meeting other people with passions like his and the urge to create that can't be ignored. Very briefly he allows himself to dream, and then he dismisses it. He had once fallen into the trap of creating support items for heroes in hopes they would accept him as one of them. The Avengers had lived cost-free at his expense for years. No rent, no cost for food, and all the gadgets they could dream of. He would never again be reduced to that. He will still help people, but he is done being taken for granted. Beside Island is a floating island, cruising the seas. Going to their academy will mean leaving his mom behind, and he can't do that to her. She cares for him, and he cares for her, and honestly, even in this life his father is a massive no-show, so he can't leave her by herself. And they are expensive. Travel fees alone. So yes, while Island is nice for a visit or something, UA is the better option. The school is one of the best in Japan, and he can easily commute there every day. Oh, are you considering another school? Nizu asks with a frown. Not really, I'm just not sure about what course I want to enroll into. He shrugs, not sure if he should be vaguer. Maybe they'll make him an offer? What other course are you hesitating about? Tsukachi asks curiously. Hero course and support course. I know I can be a hero if I want to be quirkless or not. I can make my own support items. As you can see, I am very good at making things. The two exchange a look before they turn back towards him. As quirkless, you would be at a big disadvantage in the hero course, Nizu says casually as if trying to gauge Izuku's reaction to what he just said, but there is no rule against quirkless students. If you get in, you get in. Yeah, I just need to survive your giant robots in the entrance exam, Izuku says sarcastically, which I can't do without the right gear, and I am not allowed to bring any, if I could even make something durable enough to be of use, because only support equipment that is certified for quirk usage is allowed to be brought to the exam. There is no way he's going to try making an arc reactor here in their little apartment. He proved that in Afghanistan, but it just isn't safe enough. One moment of lost concentration and the whole building could be destroyed. Maybe going to visit a support company will help you make your final decision. Either way, we would be very happy to have you as a student at our school. The headmaster suggests. There is an undertone in the principal's voice that piques Izuku's interest. He grimaces though, feeling strangely nervous about meeting other people like him. Is that the best way to describe him? Maybe he'll go and do that. It might be nice. Meeting some people he can talk to, and who understand him. Then again, he has that summer camp thing coming on in a few months, so he might not need to. Maybe that will be enough? So what does this mean? Mom rubs her hands together anxiously. Will you press charges? Well, Tsukachi-san? What do you think? Nizu asks with a smile. Seeing as Midoriya-kun hasn't lied to us today, I am sure a warning can be enough. The detective says. Well, I could have lied if I had wanted to, but there really is no need. Izuku shrugs. Chief, please don't challenge the people who can throw you in jail. Tadashi chimes in. Oh hush, I am a minor. They can't just throw me in jail. He laughs. No one got hurt, and our students' and teachers' privacy wasn't harmed. That is the most important. Nizu says amused. Please refrain from doing this again, Midoriya-kun. I'd hate to have to come back to reprimand you. There is a mischievous twinkle in the guy's eye. Izuku grins. You can come by whenever you feel like it. No need to wait for an invitation. Izuku, his mom is in despair, but the principal only laughs out loud. Even the detective looks amused now. Izuku grins. He can't help it. Today is a good day. Barely midday and he already has been able to show off Tadashi. Izuku, can we talk? His mom stands in the doorway. Izuku looks up from his latest project. Sure mom. She looks determined. He gets up and follows her into the kitchen. She wrings her hands, unsure of where to begin. It makes him nervous as well. Are you? No, you are not all right. What happened? What has you so down? He shrugs, not wanting to talk about it. I wondered what you are planning for high school. After that visit from UA's faculty. Do you plan on applying there? I think so. UA is the most prestigious high school around. In Japan, at least. It isn't far. I can easily commute. I'm just not sure which course to try out for. He admits. She blinks at him. Which are you considering? The support course or the hero course? I like support, but I don't see myself making gear for heroes my whole life. I want to make my own gear. He silently wonders why he has to repeat himself though. Hadn't she been around when he explained most of this to the detective and Nizu? In fact, he wonders. Has he never told her of his plans before? He can't recall, but surely he has? Why on earth would he not have told her before now? Well, you still have some time to decide. He snorts. Maybe, but the choice is actually a simple one. Like I told Nizu and the detective before, Tadashi found out what the entrance exams for the hero course is, and realistically there is no way I can get in on my own without any gear. I'm not made to fight giant robots with my bare hands. So, the choice should be simple. His mom pales when she hears this. Yes, that would be very reckless. You are very smart, Izuku, and I don't doubt you can do anything you set your mind to. Could you still become a hero if you graduate from the support course? He stares at her, unsure why he hasn't thought off that. I am not sure. Actually, it turns out to be possible. The hero license exams are not exclusive to hero course students. Schools with hero course students get priority, but anyone can apply. Tadashi chimes in. Really? Izuku looks up in wonder. This world is so focused on the hero carriers and going to school to become one. He hadn't considered doing both in this way. He could apply to the support course and just take the hero exams in his own time. That could work? In fact, that can be very helpful. It gives him time to create the Iron Man suit he will be really happy with, not just an advanced suit to fit this backwards world. That, and he isn't comfortable with the whole child soldiers thing. There is a reason he first insisted Peter didn't get involved with the Avengers. Somewhat. He had taken the kid to Germany, but still. Boy, he really is a hypocrite sometimes. If only that double mayor was possible. That would make this choice much easier. Well, you still have some time. Mom says. Maybe you'll be able to choose after your summer camp. That will give you a better idea about the support course. Summer camp. The dreaded words are there again. He is so glad, when he isn't panicking, that he already made his decision and that neither Shinsu-sensei or his mom have let him change that decision. He'd have cancelled and re-entered tons of times by now. Summer comes quicker than he imagines, and the closer it comes, the more nervous he becomes. It's subtle at first, especially since he's learned to recognize it easily now. Most days he can distract himself easily enough. It's the evenings that are hell. The moment he decides to finally go to bed especially. The staring at nothing, not able to sleep because his mind is racing. Racing from one thought into the next, and suddenly the anxiety is gripping him by his lungs, almost as if the feeling can crush his chest. It isn't nice, and sleeping becomes even worse than before. Showers are hell as well. Everything that allows for mindless movement sets his mind free. He starts multiple projects at the same time, everything to keep his mind as busy as possible. He finishes his smartphone, and while it isn't as sleek as a manufactured Stark model, it is pretty and very functional. Tadashi has access to it, of course. It is a very basic Stark phone, but still miles better than what is out on the markets today. He spends months creating small projects. From Natasha's old widow bites, a nice earpiece to always be in contact with Tadashi, to some better appliances for his mom. She is ridiculously proud of him when he presents her with her own smartphone. Right now, he is recreating the hologram tech that had powered his entire workshop once upon a time. Still, thanks to the anxiety, he spends very little time sleeping and he gets used to feeling exhausted. He is tired all the time. He just wants this to be over already. Let's just get it over with. His mom takes him to the doctor again, at Shinsu-sensei's recommendation. His therapist worries he might be having a vitamin deficiency on top of his other issues. He turns out to be right. He lacks iron and vitamin D mostly, and those can be fixed with supplements. He starts feeling a bit better after taking them. He certainly has more energy, but he never really feels not tired. So, the stress continues and he just wants it to be over now. When it finally gets to the day he is leaving, he is so exhausted by everything that he barely feels anything but relief. His mom is so enthusiastic, she almost shoves him out of the door. There are waterworks involved when she drops him off at the bus stop. She briefly talks to the driver, mostly to be sure it is the right bus, and then it is time to say goodbye. Wait, bus? His confusion is big enough that he stops his own crying. He is not embarrassed about that. So what if they are early and none of the other kids are here yet? The Midoriyas are criers all right. Mom? Weren't you going to drop me off at camp? I am. She tilts her head, a bit confused as well. Then her confusion cleared and she giggles, actually giggles, at him. Oh, baby, did you not read up on camp? Do you have any idea where it takes place? Or did you simply forget? I am sure it was mentioned when Shinsu-sensei first brought it up. It's just camp, right? What on earth has he gotten into? While true, he hadn't looked up any extra information that had been done on purpose, all right. To not go into a research binge and find out every little detail about where he is going and worry about it in advance. I guess not. Mom giggles again. Well, I won't ruin the surprise then, but I think you'll be very happy. He frowns at her, feeling very unsure suddenly. Oh, Izuku, you will be just fine. You will enjoy this week, and when things get too much, we can always video talk thanks to the phones you made us. Don't hesitate to message me if you want to or need to. I will always pick up and I really want to know what you will be up to. Mom's smile is shaky. This will be the first time he will be away from home. He's never slept anywhere but his own bed. He gives her another big hug. Cuddle kitty for me, all right? Of course, baby. He will be waiting for you to get back, but I'll take good care of him. Finally, a loud voice exclaims a bit further away. They release their hug to watch what is happening. It's a girl. She is wearing goggles and has bright pink hair in a dreadlock kind of hairstyle. Or is her hair just very thick? She is vibrating with energy and watches the bus with stars in her eyes. The people behind her, her parents he assumes, are each holding one of her shoulders. Like they are stopping her from running off. She looks the complete opposite of how he feels, but those goggles on her head look interesting. Mom pulls him into another hug. You be good now, have fun and try to get at least 5 hours of sleep a night, all right? I'll try, is all he can say. He is done making promises he can't keep. She releases him and gently pushes him towards the bus. Have fun, Izuku. She calls out as he is halfway towards the bus. He only waves at her but doesn't look back. Mostly because he fears if he does, he won't ever get on that bus. He makes it though. He makes it inside the bus and drops his stuff in the compartment above the seat he's chosen. He is the first one here, so he can choose freely. He chooses a seat in the front. Hopefully, sitting here will give him some more time before he needs to socialize. Kids don't like to sit in the front. That is where the responsible adult sits, right? I am so excited. The pink-haired girl squeals as she walks inside. She throws her bag next to his and sits down next to him, hard. The whole seat moves with her. Izuku clutches at the seat before him and grimaces. Of course. The universe can't give him a break. Why would he get some more social free time? This week will be hell. He is calling it already. He's been calling it for months now. Not that anyone listens. Well, he hasn't really been saying it. Not out loud, anyway. Hi, I am Hatsune. I can't wait to get going. Really now, I never would have guessed. He can't help but reply sarcastically. She bursts out laughing in delight. He frowns at her. That is not the reaction he is used to. Though to be honest, he would never reply to his mom like that, and Takashi is still too young and precious. Strange that this is the first real time he allows himself to be what people would have called Tony Ifenji Stark, his sassy and sarcastic old self. It feels strangely like coming home. He hadn't realized until now that he had missed this. What's your name? She simply asks. Midoriya Izuku. Cool, you done much inventing? Or just here because you are curious? Both, actually, but yeah, I tinker around. He admits. Tinker around. Yeah, that is putting it lightly. The girl keeps talking as the bus fills up. There are more kids here than he had thought. He nods and hums in agreement in what he thinks are the right places, but he isn't really listening to what she is saying. Finally, the bus closes up and they are on their way for a whole week of fun and science. He can only hope. So, where exactly is it we are going? He asks as the bus leaves the city center and makes its way toward the highway. Hatsum doesn't answer but keeps squealing. Something about babies. Like what? Oh boy, this will be good. Hatsum cheers next to him a while later as several screens in the bus are lowered and a small little clip starts to play. Why are they talking about I-Island? What? I-Island? We are going to I-Island? Isn't that like super exclusive? Island. Home to over 10,000 scientists. A man-made island, never staying long in the same place, supposedly to keep villains out, but they also sell tickets and put their travel planning online? Built to house the world's brightest minds, to research quirks, and develop new hero support items. Not really. I mean, sure it is expensive to visit, but camps like these are important. She shrugs, a frown on her face as she gets serious. The number of people applying to support courses in Japan is dwindling and fast. Mom is the CEO to one of the bigger support companies in Japan and no one has applied for an internship in at least 5 years. It's why they organize these summer camps. Major companies sponsor them. Really? I know people are all about heroes these days, but yeah, support licenses are becoming rare. I think UA's class this year counts exactly 4 people. She grimaces. DMN. Wait, you really had no idea where we were going? She asks with wide eyes. Her eyes are almost golden yellow, with strange markings. Must be her quirk. He hadn't noticed before now. Not really, he shrugs, but doesn't explain himself. They don't actually stay long on the bus. They have barely stopped talking and the bus slows down already. At an airport. Because, of course, I-Island is an island so they can't get there by bus. Still, he had half expected the bus to ride onto a boat or something. Not some sort of semi-private jet. It's smaller than a commercial plane but bigger than the ones Tony was used to. It's about big enough for their group. There aren't really that many seats left over and Izuku resigns himself to listening, sort of, to Hatsum as the girl drags him to a seat. No security? He mutters. They have barely arrived and are already being loaded onto the plane. He has barely seen the inside of the airport. This is an I-Island plane. There are scanners inside and more once we get to the island. Hatsum says cheerfully. You sure are well informed. He says. She doesn't reply, only widens her smile. The plane ride is not that different from the bus ride. It takes about an hour and Hatsum keeps on chattering. He can see the round island as they fly lower. The huge walls, the triangular design inside, and he can't help but wonder why the strange shapes. Their plane lands and Izuku feels himself getting excited. They enter the island via a tunnel with an automatic floor. They simply stand on it and it carries them forward, like in some very long corridors in airports. The wall is a huge screen on either side of them and their ID appears. So they scan who comes in. The immigration inspection is complete. He likes this a lot more than security checks at the airport. They arrive in a big terminal which is strangely empty. It takes a while to retrieve their bags even if there is no one else around. Mei is bouncing next to him, and Izuku has to stop himself from mirroring her. He stares as they get out of the building into the open air. Because really? Trees? Plants? Before he dismisses the thought. Honestly, this is so over the top and yet exactly what Tony would have done. Make a completely man-made island in the middle of nowhere and build a giant garden on it. He doesn't want to know what it has cost to ship in all the Earth alone. Never mind all the personnel required to keep it this well maintained. Nope. There is a man waiting for them, together with a girl. She looks only a few years older than them, which he likes. She is pretty, very pretty, and her being older gives him hope he won't feel exhausted or bored talking to her. Welcome to Island. The man greets them with a heavy accent. I am Shield David. I am an American, so pardon my accent. This is my daughter Melissa, who will join you this coming week for your support summer camp. Oh boy, he can hear the capital letters in that name. People are so dramatic. He loves it. Izuku grins. But first, let's get you all settled in, and we will meet afterward for a brief introduction to your camp during lunch. The man continues on, with a bright smile on his face. The man leads them away and the group starts following him. Hi, you are Midoriya Izuku, right? Izuku turns. It's the blonde girl with the glasses from earlier. Why yes, he says while keeping walking. He has to turn back a bit until she catches up to him and Izuku needs to be careful not to fall over his bag while doing so. I am Melissa Shield, or Shield Melissa like you say here. She smiles at him. May, who is still walking next to him, starts talking as well. Maybe she feels a bit left out. And I am Hatsum May. Call me May. It's very nice to meet you both. The girl smiles at them both, but keeps her gaze on Izuku. Please call me Melissa. They keep walking and Izuku starts feeling very uncomfortable, especially since no one says anything else. So, how did you know my name? He asks. Oh, I guess this must be very weird to you. Sorry about that. She apologizes with a smile. My dad runs this program. And he mentioned you to me. Why? Izuku asks, not understanding. He thought it might be nice for both of us. You don't meet a lot of quirkless people these days, especially our age. Izuku falters. He has never had problems, not since remembering, with being quirkless. In fact, he rather enjoys it, but it is indeed rare to find another person like him, especially someone the same age. Quirkless people make up about 20% of the population, but with each generation the amount of quirkless people diminished. So yes, while 20% of people out there don't have a quirk, most of those people are way older than him. There aren't a lot of quirkless kids, which is why the ones that are like him tend to get bullied a lot. There are also high suicide rates, especially for quirkless kids, which doesn't help. So, you as well, huh? He asks instead of saying all this. Yep. She smiles, clearly as unbothered as him. The group halts before a big building, made up almost entirely of windows. These are iAcademy's dorms. During the year, this building houses all our students. These next 2 weeks, you will be staying in empty dorm rooms of our recently graduated students. Shield-san explains as he holds up a list. Together with the guy at the reception desk, he starts going over the list and handing out keys. Izuku gets a room on the 5th floor and they all get released to drop their stuff off. He drops his bag as soon as he steps inside and falls face first onto the bed. He sighs deeply and takes out his phone. No new messages. He sighs again. Tadashi, please let Mom know I've arrived. Of course, Chief. His phone lights up as Tadashi does what he must. Demon, he loves that AI. He sighs again and turns to lay on his back. A whole week. He hopes he is ready. Summer camp turns out to be more than okay. Sure, he misses his mom and kid a lot, but who is keeping track? He only calls home once a day, all right. That is not too much, but being here is actually, dare he say it, fun. He is learning a lot less than he had hoped though, which is disappointing, but he finally has some, dare he say it, friends his own age? Maybe? They do talk a lot and hang out all the time. Well, it's more like Melissa and especially May don't seem to leave him alone. They are nice, and he loves talking shop with them, even if they can be a bit clingy. It is fine though. There are seminar-type classes, where they listen to scientists talk and they get to choose which ones they attend. It feels like a very mature way to treat teenagers, but Izuku is very glad for it. It is interesting to see what these people have focused on for years, seeing as most scientific fields have become almost non-existent. The one about patents has been particularly enlightening. Filing patents is how people make money after all. You invent something, put a patent on it, a trademark, and you own it. Anyone else who wants to use what you made, even just as a piece of something bigger, owes you money. As Tony Stark, he had never needed to worry about that. He had teams of people who did all the heavy lifting for him. Now though, those patents can mean early money for him and his mom. Well, it turns out, not really. Applying for patents can only be done if one has a support license. No wonder people don't bother inventing stuff. Whose bright idea had that been? All patents, not just concerning hero stuff, but for anything. Support students can file for their trademarks while studying, and most do this through their school, but they'll only cash in once they get their license. This both annoys him and seems like a reasonable compromise because while he won't get the money immediately, it also prevents others from stealing his ideas and filing the patents before he can. Patents had been the only reason no one had succeeded in taking the Iron Man armor from him. Even the military had to bow down to that one. He will just need to be patient. But this also means that he does need a support license. He needs to. He wants to patent his things, from the AI software to the Iron Man armor, to his advanced but still touchscreen-free smartphone. They belong to him, and he won't have someone else profit from his work. In time, he wants to start a company to sell some of what he makes. Not everything, of course. No way was anyone getting their hand on AI-basis software or even his armor or the arc reactor, but he does want to make some nice money. Enough for him to not count every yen he spends and to give a bit back to his mother. She has been working very hard for years to finance all his fancies. It is the least he can do. He can't do that right now. Manufacturing costs alone are. So support course studies it is. That is fine. He likes the lab time he will get. This really is a camp to promote these studies. All schools get a thorough review and they get prepared for what to expect. They do promote their own academy here on the island the most, which is logical. Why overly promote your own competitors? Still, it gives a pretty good overview. He'll have to either convince Nizu to make an exception for him and allow him to do both support and hero courses at the same time, or he'll have to wait until he gets his support license and then go for the hero thing. Either way, he needs that support license and he won't wait. He is bad at waiting patiently. Honestly, a support license has priority over his hero license anyway. After all, even if he does something that people might call heroic, it's not like he can ever be labeled a vigilante. Also, hero course students, it turns out, get free gear as long as they are in the hero course because everything they get is designed and produced by the students in the support course. To keep the costs down as much as possible, apparently. The support course students don't get paid, except in experience. Like EX points in a game. Really? Apparently newly graduated heroes mostly stop using support gear after they debut. Most heroes only really use their costumes, largely because of the sudden cost of their gear, both manufacturing and maintenance. Izuku can't say he is surprised. It actually explains a lot about society. Heroes are pampered as hell. What is it with all these privileges? Paid for the work, free gear for many years, and treated as celebrities. And yes, if anyone knows how that can change people, it is Tony Stark. Honestly, is all that necessary? The organizers of the camp have given them free access to the labs set aside for students, and he spends most of his free time there, to be honest. Mei sticks to his side. It is both annoying and nice. She is smart and it's refreshing to brainstorm with her about lots of stuff, but he isn't used to being around people like this. Not anymore, so at times, it feels almost claustrophobic. Talking shop with her is fun though. Mei is clearly very smart, she is just so eccentric. It is something he can't quite understand, just inventing things for the fun of it. It feels like 2 lifetimes ago since he did that. Just tinkering, not really needing anything. Mei clearly doesn't design her invention for specific reasons. She just makes and keeps on making stuff, hoping to ever need them. Izuku makes stuff because he has a problem that needs solving, or specifically, a world that needs to catch up because it is so far behind it isn't funny anymore. Melissa is nice. Very nice. Almost too nice. She is very pretty as well. And smart, though he spends less time with her compared to Mei. mostly because she is older than they are. She is already a first year in high school and enrolled here at the academy on the island, so she doesn't need most introduction lessons. Also, maybe because she is older, it feels to Izuku, and maybe this is just him, maybe he is just imagining it, but, well, it feels like she treats him as if he is younger and less experienced, which in normal circumstances, would be understandable, but to Izuku, who has spent 2 lifetimes now being treated like a genius and like he is older than he actually is, it gets on his nerves. Just a bit. She is lucky she is so smart and pretty. Sort of. Not that he judges her for being a girl or pretty. Far from it. Natasha and Pepper were prime examples of why you shouldn't underestimate a woman. He had learned that lesson the hard way as Tony. He will never underestimate women again, or even think of them as less capable. Still being treated like a little brother by such a pretty girl? She is very nice though, and he doesn't think she is aware she is doing it. If she is, he can't imagine she does it with bad intentions. After their first night, for example, she came to pick him up at his room, before taking him with her to pick up May, and taking them to the food place, the lunchroom, or whatever you want to call it. She goes through the trouble of explaining the schedule to them. The red slots are actually practical application lessons. You'll get to tinker away there. The blue slots are theoretical lessons, but they aren't anything like what you are used to in school. It's more like in college, a lecture if you will. You just listen and take notes mostly. The labs are open all day and so is the cafeteria. See? Very nice. However, their schedule is color-coded and the explanation is included. He had to bite his tongue to keep from saying something. He can read, Being here, on an island full of prodigies, shows again how brilliant Izuku is. He hasn't really been paying much attention until now. Sure, he knows he is smart, he has always known. But he had hoped the rest of the world wasn't too far behind. Science might be hyper-focused on hero support, but he had hoped. Nope, while some hero gadgets he sees on the island are, well, handy. There isn't anything he can really name innovative. After he is bored to death in his first 2 theoretical lessons, he doesn't bother attending any more of them. He has better things to do. Well, he spends most of his time in the labs, to which they have free access. That and a few practical lessons. Speaking of which, one of their first practical exercises is inside a tall central building. Izuku is very excited until he hears what exactly the exercise is. It is a mock villain with a hostage situation. The villains are holding people hostage in the big reception-like room, while other villains take over the tower to get inside the vault on the top floor. They were here to come up with ideas and tech to help the hero team who stand nearby, ready to storm the building. They actually provided people to play out the roles as well. All in all a very solid exercise. But it pisses Izuku off either way. Honestly, by the time he has designed something to help out a hero, he can easier think of at least 3 ways to do the job himself. He takes out his cell phone as soon as they get their hour to work and plugs it into the computer he got to work with. "Are you there, Tadashi?" he asks with a frown. "Always, Chief. Please tell me you have something to do for me, I am bored out of my mind." Tadashi's voice sounds from his phone. Izuku chuckles. "Oh, you betcha." He cracks his fingers together in anticipation. "Let's show them how it's done. This will give me some nice experience." Tadashi agrees with an eager tilt to his voice. Izuku grins. "Bring it." Tadashi hacks into the Island mainframe with embarrassing ease. Really? And these people were the best and brightest? It worries him, because doesn't this island have the same security system as Japan's most guarded prison, which holds the most notorious villains? How worried should he be that it takes his little Dashi barely a few minutes to get inside and take control? No one says anything about it, no alarms go off, and it's as if they haven't even noticed yet, which is even more worrying. Or Tadashi is just that good. Either way, he feels both proud enough to burst and ready to move his mother to another country. He distracts himself quickly, before his mind is allowed to dwell too much on that. Seeing what the other kids come up with is very interesting. May is by far the most noteworthy. Her design is quite bulky, so he doesn't immediately clue into what it actually is. It creates large shockwaves that disturb electrical systems. she explains enthusiastically. Not bad. It isn't something Izuku has actually thought of. Mostly, probably, because that will mess with his own tech. Huh, he jolts down a note about that on his phone. He will need to find a way to counter that. Midoriya-san? The man leading the exercise says. Izuku hasn't bothered remembering his name. Why aren't you making anything? Is this exercise too hard, maybe? Nope, too easy. Izuku shrugs. I found a way to solve the problem myself, no heroes required. The man blinks at him, stunned. Izuku sighs. Best and brightest, huh? He really hopes not. He starts explaining what he planned. The man's eyes only grow wider. Midoriya-kun, while it is very helpful of you to point out these obvious flaws in our system, we are not heroes. We are here to support heroes, to create things that help them out. Why not? Excuse me? If his eyes grow any wider, they will pop out of the guy's head at some point. Why couldn't we be heroes? I mean, sure, that is a personal choice, but you talk as if it is impossible. Of course, we can be heroes. We are more than smart enough. You speak as if support and heroes can't be combined. Why not? Because in the end, we know our inventions best, right? If anyone can draw out their full potential, it is us. Izuku says with a frown. The man stares at him as if he has never seen a child before, and is now frowning. Izuku huffs. So, you hacked into our system and made this plan? The man tries to follow the steps Izuku found obvious. Well, technically Tadashi hacked, but yeah, it was my plan. Izuku replies with a shrug. Tadashi? Who is Tadashi? Izuku grins. Why don't you say hello, Shirkuin? Hello. Tadashi says dryly. The man actually jumps back. What is that? Excuse me, how rude can you be? Izuku frowns at the man. Even if he is startled, there is no need to be so rude. Honestly, your phone just spoke. It responded to you. Mei cheers with wide eyes. Is it alive? That or he is calling someone who is in on the prank. The man from before says warily. Oh come on, just because no one else has ever made an AI. It's really not that hard. Izuku says with a whine. He didn't mean to whine. He really didn't. And it isn't hard to do. Not really. Not for him anyway. It just takes some time and resources. Why do people always underestimate kids? It's like they think all kids are stupid. So what if most were? Izuku isn't. He never has been. Why let kids operate electrical tools if you think they will hurt themselves with it? It doesn't make any sense. Tadashi, show him what you can do, please. It would be my pleasure, Chief. Even Tadashi sounds as grim as Izuku is feeling. Yeah, neither of them likes being underestimated. Especially since this is a program for, well, not gifted, but at least not stupid children. At once all the lights turn off and the door locks loudly. People startle and some shouting is heard before the lights turn on again, and Tadashi commandeers the big screens on the wall and starts playing Izuku's favorite Disney film. Just because he can. He places a hand on his heart and coos at Tadashi. This is epic. Mei cheers in the background. It takes a while for anyone to believe Tadashi is not just someone on the other side of the phone. Which, come on. This is just ridiculous. Tadashi is an AI, an artificial intelligence. He feels the need to explain. He is still young and learning, so I thought this might be a good opportunity for him, but honestly, it wasn't much of a challenge. He is the one who hacked your system. Izuku shrugs again. An AI? You created a real, autonomous learning AI, the man asks stunned. Yes, I did. Izuku frowns, feeling a bit insulted at the man's shock. Midori, you have to tell me all about it. Mei screeches as she jumps his back and throws her arms around his neck. And introduce me. Arc is the only sound Izuku can make as he tries to keep standing and regain his breath. Mei sure has a tight grip on his neck. She is stronger than she looks. Her eyes are shining, like when she talks about her own inventions. Her babies. Izuku laughs. He is looking forward to talk some more shop with her. The teacher, if he can be called that at this point, just ends up skipping him in the demonstration after asking him to disconnect Tadashi from everything that isn't Izuku's phone. Which is rude. Maybe you shouldn't make it so easy for Izuku's baby to get into your system then. Put some effort into it, you genius. If only it was that easy to get rid of Mei afterward. She insists on, as she calls it, properly meeting Tadashi, and part of Izuku is delighted because she is immediately treating Tadashi as an intelligent being. She doesn't just assume he is a computer that learned to respond. He can count on one hand the people who did that in both lifetimes. They end up spending the next few hours in the lab, just tinkering away while Mei interrogates both Izuku and Tadashi. There you two are. I couldn't find you anywhere in the lunch hall. Melissa cries out as she enters the lab. Izuku blinks and looks up as she nudges his shoulder. He has completely lost focus. What are you doing here? Come to join us and show us what you can do. Babies, babies, babies everywhere. Mei chants in some weird way, like a song. Melissa blinks at them and then starts frowning. How long have you two been here? You did eat lunch, right? A lunch? Smunch. This is way more important. Look, I made hover shoes. Mei bursts out in victory as she holds up her invention. I can't wait to start you. They let you play with even more materials, even the really expensive ones. Less than a year now. And yes, it is both exciting and a tiny bit nerve-wracking to think about. Almost time to start at UA. Finally. He's been waiting to start there for ages, and now it is almost time. I can't wait. He grins at her. We are going to take that school by storm and show everyone how awesome we are. Mei cheers loudly. Both of you will be going to UA? Melissa pouts a bit. I had hoped you might want to apply here, to the academy on the island. Nope. Mei grins brightly. UA for me too. Izuku says, not feeling up to explaining it. That's a shame. I would have liked having you two here. I would have been fun. Melissa sighs but quickly smiles at them again. We'll just have to make the most of summer camp then. Izuku snorts at that, and Mei bursts out laughing. What? Which leads to Mei explaining what happened earlier. You really made a functioning AI? Melissa asks with big eyes. Yep. Izuku says as he pops the word. He is tired of repeating himself. Have you started the paperwork yet? Paperwork. For the patent. This is some very exciting news, and the community will be all abuzz when they find out. She bounces slightly, just as excited as Mei had been before. We can't yet, right? They explained it in one of the classes. Only support corps students can apply. Izuku shrugs, still bummed about that. Well, technically yes, unless you find a sponsor who will stand for you in the meantime. Besides, you can start filling out the paperwork the same day you apply to school. Izuku's eyes widen. Now that is interesting. Not right now though. She says cheerfully. I have other plans for now. Izuku eyes Melissa warily and she shoots him a teasing smile. Melissa drags them out of the lab whenever she can. It turns out to be the easiest way to get both Izuku and Mei to leave it. Still, getting the two to leave isn't easy. At all. She has just found the easiest way. Grabbing an ear from each of them, pulling and refusing to let go. It works wonders. Izuku is a bit annoyed at her for it, but as long as she doesn't share that technique with anyone, he is content. Melissa often drags them around the island to explore. Well, mostly to show them everything there is to see. It is a shame they aren't allowed on the theme park-like attractions that are made for heroes. Mostly so they can test gear, and a little bit so they can test themselves. Today though, she seems content just to watch them work. At least, after she insists they eat the sandwich she brought them. It is one of their exploration trips that Izuku suddenly thinks about something. Hey, Melissa, there wouldn't be some sort of hadron collider on the island, would there? A hadron collider? She asks confused. Yeah, you know, to create particles and new elements and stuff. To study the creation of the universe? That sort of thing. Well, I think there is actually. Great. Can you take me there? Even if I wanted to, I can't. I don't have access to that part of the island. I only went there once and I think I saw what you are talking about, but I only got in because of Papa. A minor setback. Can we go see him? Your father? To ask him about it? I'm not sure he'll let you go, but sure. We can ask. She doesn't move. Can we go then? Now. She asks, clearly not expecting it. Well, yeah. Camp is almost over. They are about 3 days in, so just about halfway, but knowing his luck, it'll take some time to convince an adult he knows what he is talking about. If his instructor before was any indication. While walking, he thinks about how to best plead his case. He knows what he wants to make, Starcanium, the element he had invented in his last life. He had help from his deceased dad, true, but Tony had been the one to make it. He knows the atom structure and the way to make it by heart now. If he managed to convince Shield-san to allow him to make this. No need for palladium anymore. Though, it would be weird to call it Starcanium this time around. Midorinium? Anyway. Melissa takes them into a building they aren't technically allowed in, but she has a pass and no one says anything when they walk past. David's shield is deep in one of the labs that even Melissa doesn't have access to. She has to be beeped in with the intercom. Melissa, is something wrong? The man sounds worried. A worried dad. That is new. Maybe he is the only one with malfunctioning dads? Izuka hadn't paid much attention the first day here, but Diamond hearing that heavy American accent feels like a blessing. A whole new life of only speaking Japanese. And Tony had always been multilingual. He had even spoken some basic Japanese in his original life. So this makes him feel a bit homesick. He isn't sure which home he is aching for though, and he quickly dismisses the feeling. Dad, I brought my friends. Midoriya-kun had a question for you, she says hesitantly. Izuku frowns briefly at her before he wipes all emotion from his face and faces the man, who eyes him curiously now. I have been messing around for a few years now and I made something. I ran all kinds of virtual simulations and those have proven my point, but I have no means of actually making it though. You are speaking very vaguely. Why weren't you able to make what you wanted at home? Is it that big? The man frowns at him. Well, I could have if I really wanted to, but I don't think the landlord would have appreciated the remodel of our apartment building. And Mom wouldn't let me. Izuku says with an arched eyebrow. What on earth are you trying to make? The man's eyes are huge. A new element. Izuku grins broadly. Speaking to Shield and convincing him to go along with Izuku's idea is honestly a lot harder than it should have been. It takes a whole day of pestering the man before Shield will even let Izuku show him what exactly he wants to create. It is frustrating and, in the end, it is only because Melissa speaks up for him that the man allows him back into his lab. Seriously, how much can anyone underestimate him? The man doesn't even seem interested. Just so skeptical he won't even allow for scientific curiosity. If Izuka didn't really want to try and make his Midorinium element to recreate his arc reactor, he would have walked away, affronted. It is insulting beyond belief. By the time the man decides he is willing to listen, and only listen, Izuku is just about done. He is very glad though that Shield asked Melissa not to come and to keep May away. Not that he doesn't like both girls, but, well, he is annoyed enough already without having to deal with May's overenthusiasm. All right. Sighs as if Izuku is a misbehaving toddler. Show me what you have and then we'll see. Part of him, the very childish part, wants to turn around and leave. The more mature part of him wants to throw his element under the man's nose and gloat. Being who he is, he does exactly that. Tadashi, show him. With pleasure, Chief. Tadashi commandeers every screen in the room and shows off the molecular composition of what was once known as Starcanium. And yes, just to be sure, he has the paperwork for his patent, this one and others, ready to go. Shield's eyes grow wide as he realizes what he is seeing and Izuku smirks. He can't help it. Came up with this? Izuku isn't sure what that sounds like. Amazement? Shock? A combination of both? Yes, a few years ago actually. He can't stop himself from saying it with a grin. Technically, he isn't even lying. I ran every simulation on it I could think of, but I don't have the means, yet, to produce it. I thought, if anywhere, here might be a great place to try. If anyone will take me seriously, that is. Yet? The man asks weakly, not taking his eyes off the computer screen. Well, Mom would never forgive me for building the needed equipment out of scrap. I mean, I probably could, but I'd need to take down quite a few walls as well, and our landlord would not approve of that. So, he trails off. Well, I'd need to run some simulations of my own first, of course, but this is brilliant. I know. Izuku grins. People need to stop underestimating me. But why would you want to create something like this? And how did you even think about making this? Shield asks. I have a project in mind and it needs a good battery to run on. Izuku shrugs. That has always been the reason behind the creation of this element. It is the most stable core for his arc reactors. Less explosive danger if anything became damaged. Palladium has a high explosion possibility, after all, not to mention it was toxic. You want to create a new element to turn it into a battery? Shield asks weakly, finally taking his eyes off the screen. Just as a part of the battery, yes. Izuku shrugs. I technically could use something else, but this is easier in the long run. Creating a new element is easier? Yep, so can we do this? Izuku asks eagerly. I don't need a lot of it. Just a bit to start. The man stares at him. Look, I want a support license. I have tons of stuff ready, waiting for me to start making them, to help people. I have the completed blueprints, I have tons of ideas, and I have a realistic way of making everything. For now though, all I want is to make this element so I can start creating my suit and prove to the world that smart or quirkless people can be heroes too. Wait, you want to be a quirkless hero? Like an underground hero? Shield asks him. Izuku sighs. Underground as if, no, I want everyone to know what I can do. I want every child out there who is deemed worthless or not good enough to know that they matter and that they can become whatever they want if they put enough effort in. And you still want to make things? Invent stuff? Shield has a strange look in his eyes as he asks this. Well, I am not naive enough to think I can make it simply by being me. If I wanted to be a small-time, underground hero, sure, I could easily pull that off, but not if I want to help better this society. No, I will make my own gear, my own costume as they call it, and I will show everyone what I can do. Plus I can make some money at the same time because honestly, why is that phone you carry around still the size of a brick? Why am I seemingly the only one who thinks it might be a good idea to keep improving all the time? Izuku rants, a bit fed up. Show me. Shield says, ignoring most of what Izuku said. You say you have the blueprints already. Show me your costume. Izuku eyes him warily, but complies. Tadashi, go ahead. Shield stares at the plans on the screens with wide eyes, but very focused. This is still very basic. I plan on making more models, each with different specifics and such. Izuku eyes the man warily. You call this basic? I have never seen anything like this. Shield breathes in awe, and Izuku finally allows himself to relax a bit. And this element you want to create, where does that play into all this? The adult breathes. It's to help create the power source of my suit. Now come on, you can run whatever scans you want on it and let's get cracking. You already kept me waiting for long enough. Summer camp is almost over. You are something else, kid. I know, and he isn't bragging when he says that. It is the truth after all. Even in this world with quirks, reincarnation is the stuff of fairy tales and religion. You are either a genius or batcrap crazy. Shield says. Well, it's not my fault people keep underestimating me. Izuku grins again. So you have said. Shield says weakly, but with a smile. Summer camp ends 2 days later. It feels strange to have to say goodbye to May and Melissa, but the girls promise, rather ominously, to keep in touch. And he will see May in UA, so he won't have to miss her long. And yes, he just might miss her, he probably will. Melissa pulls them both into a tight hug, and it is with a wide grin that Izuku waves goodbye to her as they check in for their flight away from the island. After all, this has turned out to be a very fruitful camp. Shield offered to sponsor his patent for Midiorinium, meaning that it is already being processed. Shield being his sponsor means that Izuku doesn't have to wait to claim his creation until school starts. Shield insisted, wanting to see what else could be done with the new element, and Izuku hadn't wanted to wait either. So here he is leaving. With a nice sizable piece of midorinium in his bag, plus all the needed paperwork. He sleeps mostly on the flight back and on the bus, thank May for waking him when necessary. And dragging him further, and before he knows it, Mom is standing before him. "Did you have fun, sweetie?" She smiles at him with tears in her eyes. He smiles at her, tears gathering in his own eyes. DMN her genetics for making him a crybaby. He falls into her arms, suppresses the tears, and relaxes into her hug. "I'm home. See you later, Midori." May screams from where she is standing with her own parents. Izuku doesn't let go of his mom, but he does raise a hand to wave at her. She laughs loudly. Kitty is sulking when he gets home and he has to convince the kitten via treats to forgive him. As soon as his back is turned, Kid does attack his bag and scratches it wildly. Izuku watches with wide eyes, glad it isn't him the kitten decided to take his anger out on. An hour or so later, Kitty is laying cuddled up in his arms, spinning away. On TV they show the latest hero intervention. Some giant shark guy had stolen a purse and Tree Man had called him what? The incarnation of evil? Izuku ends up snorting his water up through his nose from laughter. Seriously, is the guy new on the job? He's obviously never fought any real villains before. How dramatic are these people? Mom makes him katsudon, and Izuku relaxes. Summer camp was fun but nothing beats home, and this is the first time in forever, in both lives, he can ever remember really coming home like this. It's nice. He might have to leave more often, just to feel like this when he comes back. Nothing beats coming home. The rest of the summer passes quickly. Shield-san calls him every day for at least a few hours, and because of that Izuku finally invested some time in making a basic hologram interface, just for their calls. This way he can see and hear the man while he simply keeps working. At first, they just talk shop but the man also keeps him on his toes. In the middle of a conversation, he would bring up a hypothetical bad case scenario and ask Izuku how he would solve it. From quirks that cause damage, to the user themselves, others, or even surroundings, to natural disasters and villain attacks. It is challenging and Izuku likes it a lot. Sometimes Melissa is there as well, but he usually keeps his talks to his two new friends separated. He has lots of fun discussing things, and going into debates with both girls and even Shield. It is a lot of fun, and very relaxing as well. Though it is weird their last name is Shield, not Maze, the other two's. It takes him some getting used to. Shield does bring up a whole lot of memories though. Some bad, some good. Mostly of a one-eyed pirate-looking guy. Fury is quite memorable. Not so easily forgotten. It would be easier to call them by their first name, of course, but unless given permission that is really not done in Japan, and the man never mentions it. So Izuku tries his best to forget about it. Which is strange. Tony wouldn't have cared. In fact, Tony would have made a point not to care. It just goes to prove he is not just Tony anymore. He is more than that. Though he does start saying David multiple times in their English-spoken conversations. Izuku had barely noticed they had changed language halfway through the conversation. He had been wrestling with an uncooperative piece and had only realized when their call had already ended. "Izuku, what studies are you planning on?" The man asks one day after having watched Izuku and his mom do their daily fight about showers. Huh. Izuku looks up from his welder. An almost completed arc reactor sits before him. He has maybe another 10 minutes left of work on it before he can try and turn it on. "Melissa said you plan on applying to UA? Which course will you go to?" "Support. I really want to get that license. After that, I'll try out for some other hero course, maybe via apprenticeships at an agency or something." He mutters, his mind still mostly focused on the reactor in his hand. "You'll be bored out of your mind," Shield says, "or you'll graduate after a week there." Izuku falters, makes a wrong move, and curses. He turns off his welder and shakes off his glove. His hand is all right, but there are burn marks on his glove. "Are you all right? Did you hurt yourself?" Shield asks him worried. Fine. Mom isn't going to be happy though. I'll need new gloves." Izuku frowns at the glove, before moving his gaze to the hologram. "What was that you were talking about?" UA and the support course. You are obviously more advanced already. They won't be able to teach you much of anything. It would be a waste of time, the man says honestly. I need to though. I won't be able to get a license otherwise. About that? That isn't technically true, the man says, studying Izuku. It hasn't been done in years though. The support course is a lot less popular than other courses, but apprenticeships are also possible in our field. What? Izuku frowns at the man. Is this your way of saying you'll take me as your apprentice? Like, you'll officially sponsor me? Not just for that one time? Actually yes. I'll even do more than that. I plan to teach you. You know a lot already, but I am sure I can still teach you something, even if it is just how to sell and start marketing your services and inventions. Izuku snorts, before he realizes he has never actually done that before. Not really, that kind of paperwork had always been Pepper's responsibility. Tony had always just shown up when necessary. You really are smart. The man smiles again. You are very gifted. And I won't need to do much to prepare you for any exams to get that support license. The man shrugs. Honest. He can appreciate that. I try to be. What do you say? If you agree, I did plan to speak to the principal about you. I wanted to recommend you for the hero course. You talk about wanting to be a hero often enough, and I think you could really be something. The plans you showed me are very promising and somehow. I believe you can do it. I don't know why, but something about you, kid, just gives me faith in that. What? You want to recommend me? Izuku asks, stunned. Oh, I definitely want to. I even started talks to make it happen, but turns out, sure I can try to recommend you, but only heroes can recommend people. The only recommendation students UA takes on are hero course students, and seeing as I am no hero, they won't officially let me. The paperwork wouldn't pass. Izuku snorts. Another example of how hero-centric this society actually is. Are you telling me kids can only be recommended to the hero course? Not support, general or business course? Yes. Shield frowned very unhappily. I'd still like to take you on as an apprentice if you are willing though, and I do plan on talking to the principal to see if you can't combine support and hero course. It would be a waste not to let you use your brain to help people. Even if you don't succeed to become a limelight hero, even simply as a support hero, like Nizu himself, you could do a lot of good. You are making me blush. Izuku mutters, looking away, feeling uncomfortable. Shield eyes him with a thoughtful look. Kid, sometimes you change moods faster than my girl changes clothes. Hey! Izuku cries out indignantly. Would you like to come with me when I reach out to the school? Shield changes the subject again. Yes, I'd appreciate that. Izuku says. Good, I'll let you know when that will be. New plans flash through his mind faster than he could follow. How would it work though? I assume we continue talking and working like this, through the internet? I can't be at UA and I Island at the same time. That island does travel around the world. That is what I had in mind. We'll see how accommodating UA will be though. May I take it you accept my offer? There is paperwork to fill out before I can get in touch with UA. Send it over. I'll take a look at it. I should probably discuss this with Mom too, he adds. I'll do that immediately. Can you try and give me an answer by the end of the week? Shield asks. That gives me enough time to arrange everything on my end. Sure, that should be fine. Izuku says. The papers have arrived, Chief. I'll take a look at them first. Tadashi suddenly says. Thanks, Shirkuin. Izuku replies with a grin. I still can't believe you made him. Shield says softly, almost as if Izuku is not supposed to hear, or he didn't mean to say it out loud. Either way, it only makes Izuku's grin grow wider. It is nice to finally have someone around who realizes what a miracle Tadashi actually is. Most people are in awe, but they have no notion about what kind of technological marvel he really is. You done with that? I want to see you turn it on. Shield says, changing the subject. Izuku snorts again before correcting the man. You just want to see if it blows up in my face. That too. The man grins. I want to see if I'll even have an apprentice by tomorrow. I haven't signed anything yet. Shield only smiles and hums softly. But yeah, I am about done. Just need to add the midorinium and jumpstart the reactor. He replies. What are you waiting for then? Izuku grins. He really likes this man, and he honestly can't wait to keep on working with him. He makes the last preparations, inserts the new element in place, takes a deep breath, and slowly turns the bottom that supplies the startup power for the reactor. It shines green. It had a blue glow in his last life. He looks at the screen, reading the diagnostics Tadashi is running right now. Everything seems to be the way it was supposed to be. Everything seems just fine, so no harm done. Congratulations. You actually did it. The man sounds breathless. You really doubted me? Izuku grins and turns the bottom up completely. Something sparks and suddenly everything electric stops working. For a brief second he can't see anything. Then the reactor glows brightly, sustaining its own energy. Izuku! What did you do? His mom yells from the kitchen. Oops! He can't stop grinning though, as he uncouples the reactor and holds it in his hand. It's just the building's electricity network being overworked. He just needs to turn the main switch back on. He has a working arc reactor now. He can finally start making his suit. Bit by bit.